Welcome in, everyone, to the Spring DAFGL NA Rocket League 3v3 Finals. I am Vodable, and joining me from yesterday, now on to Rocket League from Overwatch, is Possible. How you doing, Possible?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How could I not be? We got some great Rocket League today. We had some killer Overwatch yesterday. Later today, you and I will be stepping back, and we get to just chill and watch some Modern Warfare. Phenomenal weekend.
It's going to be a great time. And speaking of phenomenal weekends, if you want to check out some other stuff that's going on in the future for Air Force Gaming, keep an eye out for the summer season happening from June 10th to until August 20th with 9 of your favorite titles across 11 weekends of summer. Everyone has a chance to make their mark, so visit airforcegaming.com for that. But we got to talk about these players first and foremost. This is our finals, a best of 7 between two teams. One of these teams has been here multiple times before, so tell us about these rosters here, Possible.
I mean, we got to look at the Hartford Yard Goats first and foremost, right? Plum and its talent running it back for the 4th time. These two are so dedicated. It's not the first time they've had to sub out that 3rd player as well, right? So Gucci Dane, which is a great name, by the way, comes onto this roster to fill the shoes of a team that just can't stop winning the DAFGL. And then on the other side of things, we've got Space Monkeys, actually a 4-player roster as well. Fruit Loop, Noosh, and Akagami will be starting, but they also have Embrace Maya sitting on the bench in case they want to sub in or out, or we'll see how they play with that 4-player roster. But they're certainly going to have their work cut out for them. I don't think that this is an unwinnable series by any stretch of the imagination, though.
This is going to be great to see these two teams, too, because rank-wise, they're about even Stevens for the most part. Grand Champion, not the highest rank in Rocket League, but right underneath it for those who are familiar with the game itself. But Plum on the side of the Hartford Yard Goats, peak rank SSL, which is that top rank, and which makes sense that Plum and its talent have the talent to have been 4-time winners for DAFGLs specifically. And talking about Gucci Dane with the great name, 2nd at ForceCon, 1st in their Winter Rocket League event. So a lot on the line for the Hartford Yard Goats to live up to the hype, but the Space Monkeys, with their great name, are looking to see how well they can push things in this best of 7.
And I mean, Space Monkeys may be a little bit greener when it comes to like the DAFGL specifically, right? The DAF Gaming League in this tournament, but they also have experience in other leagues, in other championships. I don't think necessarily as a squad. So again, you kind of have to give it to the Hartford Yard Goats to at least have that like 2-player core who are going to be really comfortable with each other, compared to Space Monkeys, who have at least theoretically had less time to gel and get to know each other, get those rotations moving across the map and such. But it should be a banger game. We got a best of 7 coming at you, folks, so strap in. We're in it for the long haul.
It's going to be a great time, too. And one thing to note as well, out of all of the finals matchups we have over Overwatch, Rocket League, and Modern Warfare 2, on the side of the Space Monkeys, Fruit Loop is the first female representation that we are having on this stream specifically this weekend. So that's great to see that there's more inclusivity going on with that too. Absolutely. And that the competition for women's Rocket League, if you've been paying attention to the scene at all, has just been elevating to another level time and time again. Like, we've seen the most representation for that throughout all of Rocket League, not just the DAFGL specifically. So great to see that that's happening here in these finals. Excited to see how she performs with the rest of her team. And Noosh and Akagami are also their first competition for the AFG as well. So this is going to be like the new upcomers against the old guard facing off against each other to see who comes out on top.
I mean, can Hartford Yard Goats put a 5th trophy on the shelf, right? Can they do it again?
Maybe.
That's the question we got to be asking when we go into our first game. I mean, Plum and its talent were exceptional the last time that we saw them, right? It's been a few months, so the specifics may be a bit foggier in my brain, but I do remember quite a few plays, a couple of insane shots from Plum, and then its talent, if I remember correctly, was a very solid defensive player. So I'm excited to see how they've only hopefully improved in the last few months since their most recent win in the DAF Gaming League.
This is going to be great to see, too, because I remember talking to you before we even got into the series here as well. But it's going to be interesting because we'll be seeing the way that the Hartford Yard Goats, we're going for so many demos, as you were talking about before. Yeah. Now we'll be seeing more of that. That's actually part of the meta, not really the most recent meta with the major, but like online, the meta has been demo-heavy gameplay for the like top leagues out there. So hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of that from the Hartford Yard Goats, because that's such a difficult way to react to that is to try and dodge those or go for demos yourselves, and you're always just left empty on your defensive end when you're avoiding demos.
And if I remember correctly, last time it was Hartford Yard Goats actually started off that final getting demoed more than giving, and then they made that adaptation that you were talking for, so it just became a bloodbath on the field. I was watching bumper cars instead of Rocket League. It was an interesting time. We do also have word, by the way, it will in fact be Embrace Maya starting off instead of Akagami. So already we're seeing that little swap in. Oh, last minute change. Oh, wait, we steer the other way.
I mean, kind of makes sense. First competition for Akagami, so probably wanted to give it to the veterans that have the experience for these competitions to try and bring home that win. And speaking of Embrace Maya, 4th at the RT7 Esports Championship and 2nd at the USO Commanders Cup 2022. So,
nice.
Some good records that we've had from these teams and players that are out there trying to compete for the Rocket League portion of the DAFGL Springs portion of everything. And then again, as we talked about, the summer coming up pretty soon on June 10th, just a couple months away.
Yeah.
This year has been flying by, it feels like.
God, it's April, isn't it? Oh, it's halfway through April. Oh, by the way, taxes are due in 2 days, so if you guys haven't done that...
Don't remind me.
Make sure...
File an extension if you aren't ready like I am.
Yeah, that's fair, that's fair. I just did mine this last week, so I feel like while we have a second before we get in the game...
Just to remind anyone who, like us, maybe have been under a rock for a little bit.
Just as a quick favor
just in case.
Anyone who might be watching. Yeah, no, it's been crazy. But and, you know, considering how crazy, I mean, you know, all we do is talk about video games. How crazy it must be for these folks who actually, you know, I can't imagine the schedule being in the Air Force allows much time to sit down and play a ton of video games. And yet every single player pretty much throughout, like all 7 that we might see throughout this series, they've made time to compete in other tournaments to get those high placements. And I imagine what they report to us is only the tournaments that they did well at, much less the ones that
they probably played a lot more than that.
Exactly, right? And even more before that. So it's great to see that like this level of competition is able to manifest here in the DAF Gaming League.
It's pretty great. Well, we're still getting things set up for our match, so we're going to be taking a quick 3-minute break. Then after that, we'll be locked and loaded for that first, well, the only series that we have for the finals for the Spring DAFGL NA Rocket League 3v3. We'll be back in just a little bit. Welcome back, everyone, to the Air Force Gaming channel for the Spring DAFGL NA Rocket League 3-3 Finals. Try saying that 10 times fast. I dare you. Anyway, we are still getting set up for the lobby itself. So, Possible, tell us a little bit about what went down during Overwatch yesterday. I heard it was kind of a one-sided affair.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get a little bit closer game today for Rocket League. Rocket League historically has been one of the more competitive titles in the DAF Gaming League, so I have big hopes for our game today. Yesterday was a little bit.
Speak up.
just a little bit one-sided. There were some solid attempts, I think, by our second place team. But yeah, AFG Bravo struggled to really make a dent in the best name in the world, Kittens United, which was I mean, come on.
That's great. I'm noticing that we have some great names. We have like the Space Monkeys, the Yard Goats, the Kittens United. For Modern Warfare, we have Glizzy Goblins and the Buff Boys. I mean, AFG Bravo, that's sticking to like your guns on that one, and maybe that's why. Was it the Kittens that won?
Is that
my
on
assumption?
The nose, right? Necessarily for like an Air Force Gaming League, AFG Bravo. It's a little serious. Kittens United instead taking they took the 3-0.
Okay,
yesterday.
you know, with a name like that, you would expect them to be the ones to take it.
Exactly.
Because they gotta have all the confidence in the world to go by Kittens.
You're not wrong. But also if you lose that, it's like no harm, no foul. You know what I mean? You showed up with such an entertaining name that I'm just glad that you were there. So you know, it's a can't lose situation. Good stuff from Kittens United.
I mean, speaking of great names,
tuning back into Rocket League though.
Speaking of great names, we have Great Dane and Fruit Loop too that are on like these rosters, so it's just crazy to see that.
Good. I mean, Gucci Dane is a great one.
Gucci Dane, right? Excuse me, not Great Dane. That's a dog.
Yeah. Gucci, yeah, exactly. Which is why this name is so great. It's a double pun. It's a Great Day pun and a Gucci Mane pun. Like, come on, man.
Oh man, but what were you talking about before for people just tuning in for the first time?
I was just saying for anyone who maybe didn't see, the 2 minutes of waffling we had at the top of the show before we realized that it was going to take a second longer to get these teams in game. Hartford Yard Goats are our returning champions, our 4-time returning champions, right? They won all of last year, and then I believe once in late 2021 as well. So it's definitely hard to not favor the Hartford Yard Goats. Plum and its talent returning, and of course Gucci Dane coming into that roster. But Space Monkeys, like you were saying before we went to that quick little break, Vaudable, there is room for them to come into this match. Like this on paper should not be a one-sided affair.
Indeed. Based on their quote-unquote current ranks, because you never know. People could say, oh yeah, I'm this rank, but actually I'm really good at the game, or I'm really bad at the game. But GC2 for all of the players on the side of the Hartford Yard Goats, and then a spread of GC1 to GC2 for the other side of Space Monkeys. So should be pretty competitive for the most part around those ranks. It really just comes down to how the teams are going to play for the most part.
For sure. So you're the expert here. I'm not gonna pretend.
Indeed.
You're the expert here. What are the main things that have been happening recently in Rocket League that we should be looking out for today to like potentially translate to this series?
So at least meta-wise for Rocket League, a lot of it, the skill ceiling, I mean, people are still pushing that with young players. It's crazy to see that these players are all older than like everyone who's in professional Rocket League, I'm pretty sure, because most of them are like under like 18 to like 15 years old for professional Rocket League players. It's just insane. I casted a high school competition yesterday where there was a player that was rank A, which is like one of the higher ranks for six-mans, which is basically like a scrim that people can do that just randomized. They have that in every like esports.
Okay, gotcha.
I think it's like 8s or 10s or whatever it is in Call of Duty. But nonetheless, rank A, so there's B, B+, A, X, and S. So A is about like bubble scene level. There's a high school player that's like bubble scene that was playing in a competition. So really, it's crazy to see that there's these players who've been grinding it out and going for the mechanics because there's training packs that are in the game and trying to replicate their favorite pros that are out there. That's going to be the biggest thing I'll be looking out for these teams is who they are replicating in the professional leagues if they are like people that watch that and compete in that way. And usually people who are in Grand Chep, they probably watch like a decent amount because you don't play competitive Rocket League to this level and not pay attention to what's going on in everything else competitive Rocket League. I feel like I don't know about other esports titles, but that's typically how it goes from Rocket League from what I've seen.
Sure, I find that's pretty common amongst most esports, right? At least the ones I've covered in the past. You know, if you're going to be in the top 5% of players, you're probably paying attention to what the top 1% of players is doing.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see what sort of direct. I don't want to call it imitations, but inspirations. We'll
Inspiration.
Call it
That's probably it.
What direct inspirations we might get translated to the play today here.
It's interesting because possible. I was recently at the Winter Major for Rocket League, which is at DreamHack San Diego. Fun time. First time in San Diego I've ever been. Definitely recommend visiting if anyone who's watching has leave to go there at some point. Great weather. It didn't rain the whole time, but it was still kind of cold, but it was still 60 degrees. I'm in Georgia right now, and usually it's super humid at 60 degrees, and you're just sweating. Nonetheless, not talking about that specifically, but it was super defensive comparatively to all the online events we had seen leading up to that point in time. So defense seems to be it because I was talking about earlier, going back to that skill ceiling part, everyone is so competitive at this point that it's less about mistakes and more about just doing what you can to pull off insane plays to get past that crazy defense that's just gotten so much better over the years. Because defense used to be out the window. Everyone just go, go, go from the get-go. But still was a struggle for teams to figure out exactly how to break past. We were seeing the most insane defensive plays I think we had ever seen in Rocket League most recently. So I don't think at this rank we'll see much of that. A lot of it comes down to consistency for Grand Champ, separating them from like the top of Supersonic Legend. But hopefully we see some crazy plays because you know these people have the mechanics at this level.
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, the skill ceiling just has to keep going up.
Yeah,
in
somehow,
general, right?
It's always the young players, though, that are able to do like insane things. Because one weird thing, I don't have a controller on me right now, but just imagine a controller in my hands. There is like the left trigger and the left bumper that you can use for your controller for air rolling in Rocket League. So imagine you're going up in the air with your car. You're trying to air roll to get to like the ball in a crazy fashion in an aerial. I think they changed the binding recently for one of the players, Zen, who's coming out of Europe, who's just 15 years old, playing for the first time, and binded them both to like the same button and was able to pull off these crazy plays. Now everyone is adapting to that play style, and it's somehow unlocking new stuff that people could do. I was like, key bindings are still changing stuff? How is that a thing?
7 years into the game, people are still figuring out
it's
optimal
nuts.
Key bindings. That is kind of insane, right? Like to think about that, just for a game that is so like deceptively simplistic, but not actually simplistic at all.
Yeah.
Right. Like I get, my mom, tunes into esports every now and again. She goes, "Oh, Rocket, that's the soccer with the cars," and I'm like, "Well,
exactly.
Yeah, that's how everyone defines it, right?" But
it's closer to hockey, I feel like, though, not necessarily soccer, because it's in like a closed-off arena. You don't have like the offsides and penalty kicks and all that. You can't really go around the goalie, like the box itself, but you can go like above it in a sense. So it works out that way with like the rotations, the passing plays that you see typical to hockey comparatively to soccer, where you're just stuck on defense or you're stuck on midfield or you're a striker or a goalie. You don't really have those key roles as you would in like a traditional soccer game, like you do in Rocket League, that you would do in a traditional soccer game.
Didn't they have a hockey mode?
They do. I can't remember the name of it right now because I haven't played it in so long.
Yeah, I remember playing that years ago, and I was like, "This is not fun."
It's okay. There's a whole group of people who do like Rocket Hockey League, I think is like their name. If you are into just the hockey version of Rocket League, there's like a community out there. There's a drop shot community, which is another game mode where you basically have to destroy the floor of your opponent's side to be able to force the ball into the floor to score a goal, which is, I don't know how they came up with that. Basically, it feels like that. It feels like that. It's definitely Tron inspired for sure. And then there is Rumble, which you get like these different power-ups that it's basically like Mario Kart at that point, it feels like. But we got the game here. Enough vamping from us. This is the Spring DAFGL NA Rocket League 3v3 finals. Hartford Yard Goats versus Space Monkeys. Possible, it's all yours.
Alrighty here, already getting into it. And we already have a demo. What was I saying? What was I saying about demos, Bonnable? This team is violent, the Hartford Yard Goats, who I believe are going to be in the orange. The Hartford Yard Goats.
That's correct.
Blue is
going to have to fix that
as of right now.
You know, I blame the players. That's all I'll do. Not the production. I blame the players every time.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Harvard Yard Goat's doing a good job just controlling the ball. Or, well, they were doing. There we go. There's a nice clear, sending it back down to Space Monkeys. Possession is something at this level I think is going to be super important. Also, just having someone near the goal is important, guys. Having someone prepared for those long shots on occasion can be important.
Oh,
Absolutely
man.
Nobody home when Gucci Dane comes knocking.
That's unfortunate, too, because they went for the long clear all the way to midfield, but there was nobody there expecting that big of a clear. We saw the rotation, but you noticed that Noosh went for that play, and it did not work out. So, however, they had to back off. They tried to aerial quickly to get the ball, but just didn't have the confidence, and instead led to that open net opportunity.
Who's going in to clean this up? Noosh is trying to set up, but nah. Again, the ball sort of, when Space Monkeys get on the offense, the ball sort of just waffles around in that sort of goalie area, and then it gets cleared so easily by the defense. Like, look how easy it seems to be for Hartford Yard Goats to anticipate what Monkeys are doing.
It makes sense because the Hartford Yard Goats, they have the most experience at this level of competition with all the wins that they have under their belts. The Space Monkeys, I mean, they've had wins in other competitions.
Oh, no.
And Plum putting another nail into the coffin early on in this game. Nice one there. Good connection from Gucci Dane. Went for the mid-air bump onto the last defender, but didn't even need to go for that because another potential wide-open opportunity there for Plum to capitalize on.
Hartford Yard Goats just seem a step ahead right now. That's 2 goals in 90 seconds. Brutal stop. Space Monkeys can't let it get to them. Ooh, Demo's going to make it hard to defend. And a little bit high on those shots, though, Hartford Yard Goats. Not quite the setup that they were looking for. Not a half-bad clear by Mayo, and he comes back.
Oh, okay. Good loop. I was hoping something would come out from the Space Monkeys on that play, but it seems like they've still been trying to find their footing here, Possible. A lot of these game ones, you tend to see that happen every so often is maybe one team's super energized, they had like a scrim or played a ranked match going into this one, and they are ready to go, rearing from the get-go. But Space Monkeys, they've had that early goal against them, and it's been a struggle for them to find their footing afterwards. So all eyes are going to be on them the last half of this game as well.
This is at least a bit of a better defensive setup. The goal is not completely abandoned when Hartford Yard Goats are putting pressure on the defense of Space Monkeys here. Stuck in the corner, though. Hartford, because Space Monkeys actually have someone playing the goal, it makes it easier for them to defend a double bump. Just barely nudged in by Plum there.
Oh, so unfortunate defensively. And you talked about they had someone there waiting for it, but they were bumped out of the side. So that was basically a squishy save who was a player in like season 7 of like the World Championships who won it and was able to go off the ceiling of the goal as you saw there and get a save on the ball. That's where that like goal save came from. But nonetheless, we saw them go for that play to knock out the defender who was waiting for their own squishy save to get that aside, which is just insane.
And again, the anticipation for Hartford Yard Goats. I love the reboot from its talent there, anticipating that someone from Space Monkeys was going to fly high and try to clear that ball back to the end. And he just hits it again. Oh, surely. Surely it doesn't happen again. Plum already and waiting for the block. No one to assist Maya in the goal.
Well, that's unfortunate, and a great defensive effort, but again, you mentioned it, no one there to assist on the goal line. And it's not that it's a 1-on-3 situation. Plum has just been popping off. And it makes sense because Plum is the one who had their peak rank at SSL. Their current rank, GC2, they probably just haven't played rank recently because looking at their mechanics, they are the top of the game and the top of the lobby right now.
I mean, not only mechanics, but intelligence as well. Yeah. Anticipating just everything. I feel like I'm saying anticipating so much, but really, he's just got a next level Matrix kind of read.
Oh, Noosh.
Noosh trying to go for it, but the defense easily clears that one to the side. Keeps the ball out of the danger zone.
danger zone's just the Space Monkeys have. It feels like possible with the way things have been going so far. They've been trying to get out of it. They have a couple of times, but they haven't been able to do too much with it. But that 1 minute remaining is looming over top of them, such as the 4 goals we have as well. And it's been a struggle for them to even get a couple shots on the net for the Space Monkeys.
And look how Space Monkeys have to scramble now anytime the ball is back there. All 3 players rushing, grabbing boost as quickly as they can and getting back there.
No!
Oh, just a little high on the corner, too. Fruit Loop trying to come in to clean it up, but denied by its talent once again. And I mean, even if you get a goal at this point, it's 4-0 with less than 30 seconds left.
Okay, that could have been a save from the defensive end. I feel like they just kind of gave up halfway from it.
Like,
but, hey, they did give it to them. 30 seconds, it's possible to come back by 3 goals if you get some quick kickoffs. And maybe just a little bit of a miscue on the aerial. Tried to put some style points on it and did not need to rotate that much when they were going for the save. Hard save to make, but they probably should have at this level. 25 seconds to go, though. 3 goals, and it's still going the other direction. They're not going to be coming back. And that's another one for Plum. Make it 4.
That's insane. that's just wild.
So we don't have
Look
time
at
to
this.
stop talking because Plum's just scoring.
Yeah, honestly, this is just a Plum highlight reel at this point.
Oh, man.
All right. 18
the Plum
I
trees
mean,
in
at this
full
point,
blossom.
Space Monkeys just need goals for confidence
They do.
going into the further games of this series. It's a long best of 7. Game 1, like you said, sometimes one team just comes in with more heat, and this time it was absolutely the 4-time returning champions, Hartford Yard Goats. But this series doesn't have to be over by a long shot. Space Monkeys just need a mental reset. Let the ball hit the floor, guys. It's okay.
I mean, it's always fun to keep it up at 0 seconds if you can. That's like the first rule of Rocket League, not necessarily rule 1. Rule 1, which we might see at some point, is like 2 cars butting their heads to each other and refusing to break. It goes into a 2v2 situation after that because it's all fun and games at that point in time. But some people, they break them apart, and if we do see one of them, make sure to flame them in the chat for everyone watching there too. That's one of the rules of chat for Rocket League specifically is if people break a rule 1, you get angry at them for a little bit, and then it's like, okay, it's a competitive game. We don't want to just wait for 2 people to play and actually have it be as competitive as can be.
Well, and I mean, you know, when it comes to the ball, it's like with a balloon at a party, right? That balloon, if people start bouncing that balloon around, you got to keep it up. It doesn't matter what team you're on. It doesn't matter if you're up 5-1. You got to keep the ball up.
Yep. Yeah, that's what makes Rocket League fun. Are these like individual like community rules people agree to every so often just to have fun with it. But going into this next one, the biggest thing will be, can we see an early goal from the Space Monkeys? Because that's what set them down the path of despair and desolation when it came to them, their goal scoring opportunities, because they had a couple of those here and there. And our lovely spectator, I know it's going to take a while, but please press H so we can see the names of these players. Nonetheless, Space Monkeys, they need to get that early goal so they can bounce back, because they got one late, but it was kind of a gimme at the end.
Better start, at the very least, to this next game. Hartford Yard Goats haven't already scored. Although I say that. Okay. A little bit too quick to the trigger there, Plum, I believe. Couldn't quite escort the ball in, even though the goal was pretty open at the time. And the real question is can Space Monkeys find better ways to clear? You see, they're struggling to even anticipate the lines that Hartford Yard Goats are playing on currently. Even something as simple as just finding the ball floating in the air is becoming a struggle for the Space Monkeys.
Ooh, Gucci Dane. Not really able to do too much with that. Just kind of in no man's land trying to figure out what they could do with the ball. And there's still just no chances offensively for them to really go for anything on the other side. But this is nice for the Space Monkeys because they're going for some offensive plays more often. This is the longest amount of time it's been since a goal's been scored. For the Hartford Yard Goats, they're probably feeling a bit itchy and wanting to go for something, but even then, it is a nice opportunity for Maya, the sub-in, getting the first goal.
And Hartford Yard Goats quickly are reminded that they are playing at a high level. This is not necessarily going to be a one-sided affair, no matter what the first 4 goals of Game 1 might have shown.
We talked about this going into this game, that it would be crucial for Space Monkeys to get that first goal. But with this slower pace of play that we're witnessing, Constable, it's going to be tough for the Hartford Yard Goats if they don't get something started soon, because this slower pace of play works out so much better for the Space Monkeys because they can figure out their footing and find some other opportunities like we didn't witness as often in the last one.
And a lot less demos this time around, too. Not that it's going to protect the goal. Again, just open for business.
Oh, man, that's unfortunate, too. They went for the challenge, but a bad flip on the play for the 50-50, which, if you don't know what a 50-50 is, you're watching Rocket League for the first time. Basically, it's like a coin flip when you're going for the ball against another person, and whoever wins out wins that 50-50, essentially. Got, like, the heads or tails of it. But we saw a couple of times here and there where there's some better challenges that you can go for on the ball. They were flipping underneath it, so it's more like a 90-10 at that point. A Gucci Dane.
Oh.
I mean, they're not going to miss this angle. Wide open opportunity again.
What were you saying about fast-paced play from the Hartford Yard Goats? You keep them on their toes. Space Monkeys, if they're not given time to set up, they're not able to keep up with the Hartford Yard Goats.
It's rough.
I was going to say all on that W key action, but I guess they're playing on controllers, so it's like forward
They could
stick
be on
action.
keyboard. There's some professional keyboard, like mouse and keyboard players, which is just insane to me. And that's an insane goal. Speaking of, not goal, excuse me, save. Somehow able to get that
honestly.
aside. I thought it was going to be a goal if it went through, but
I mean, there were 3 players there. Surely someone had to block it, right?
Hopefully. But
Oh,
even then,
you would-
we've seen
you would
some
hope.
goals go through.
Off the backboard setup, nice and tidy.
Ooh.
Just barely cleared by Fruit Loop. She's able to get in for that one, but the pressure is insane. No room to breathe. Boot on the throat. This time it's its talent.
Ooh. Talent, I mean, it makes sense why they chose this name as their moniker online. It's talent. Also, I'm noticing that they lied to us. They said SSL wasn't their highest ranked, GC3, but I see a tournament winner SSL title that is on there. Come on, Hartford Yard Goats. You don't need to be that bashful when we're asking you about your ranks. We know that you guys are good, and that just is evidence of it. Having a title like that means you have been SSL at some point.
Oh,
But here we go,
my.
another one going through. Talent with the hat trick this time, showing the skill right after I called them out.
We can't even finish. We can't even finish talking about the last goal before the next one's put in. Space Monkeys. We thought they might maybe found the break, right? They found their shift in momentum, at least to quell Hartford Yard Goats a bit. But now it's back to business as usual. An even more dominant game potentially, as we are already to the scoreline of the last one.
Wow. This is crazy to think about because it was so slow at the beginning, working out so well for the Space Monkeys. They got that first goal, and they were looking for some more after that. It's just when we talked about it,
There we go.
the speed working so well for the Hartford Yard Goats. And that's a big difference between Grand Champ and Supersonic Legend. Supersonic is the highest speed, fastest speed that you can go in Rocket League, and it makes sense why the highest rank is called Supersonic Legend, because they are literally going supersonic the entire time on the field. And now we almost see something for the Space Monkeys. The own goal comes out.
Oopsie. What a good, such a good dribble too by Noosh right there. Considering the demo had just come on the Fruit Loop to reposition that toward the goal, even a player down. Space Monkeys are able to make a play happen. It just goes to show that when they're actually able to put Hartford Yard Goats on the defensive, this series can be closer than it has been.
It really can be, and we've seen some solid opportunities from the Space Monkeys, looking for anything that they can, because they have to force the issue on the Hartford Yard Goats defensively, and we saw it happen there. They forced it so hard, they made the Hartford Yard Goats score on their own net. It would have been a tough save to make nonetheless. They'll take those every day of the week. But this is the first time we've seen 2 goals on their side for this series. So they just need 2 more where that came from in the next less than a minute of time to bounce back themselves.
Hey, just double your score. Easy peasy.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, hold
Easy
on.
peasy.
Hold on, it might actually be easy peasy. Fruit Loop, she puts one in.
There we go, Fruit Loops.
You know,
Able to
we
get
were
a great
talking
one.
about how Space Monkeys were struggling to have anyone actually set up in their goal, ready to play defensive. Hartford Yard Goats that time a little bit off on the angle, the wide shot into the far corner of the goal. I mean, not quite the corner, I guess, but the far edge of the goal.
Yeah.
They weren't ready for it.
That's what you can notice a lot of times by teams that are used to being dominant, that they go all out on offense, and then when a counterattack comes out, they are left with nothing to deal with defensively. And that usually it happened to, like, back in the day of the highest levels of Rocket League, where people would just be all full send on offense, not give anything like no cares defensively because as long as they're scoring more goals, that's all that matters technically. But nowadays you're seeing it being a bit different, that people have to pay a bit more attention defensively and on these rotations back to their side. So Space Monkeys, if they can capitalize on these counterattacks a bit more, and they'll be doing so much better. But less than 10 seconds out possible. Can they do it?
Noosh has woken up. The mechanic's really coming alive, but someone needs to get it in. Oh, and the ball is just nowhere helpful.
No.
There it goes, sent downfield, still kept in the air, not sent into the ground either, but there it is. Finally dipping its toes on the floor. Much closer second game, though. It was very much a valley for the Space Monkeys that time. A hot start, an absolutely brutal mid game, and then a solid finish. I mean, if they can shore up that defense just a little, make it a little bit more consistent, keep the goats a little bit further back, 20%, right?
Yeah,
we could have a very close game 3.
See, the Space Monkeys, they went to space, they came back down really quickly, they had to refuel, and then they went all the way to the moon that time, and then they just couldn't do anything once they got there, unfortunately. Also, talk about Noosh there. They were in the wrong spot in the last, like, 4 seconds because they blocked a shot that was coming out towards the net, and it would have been a perfect opportunity because that third man was coming through. They were going for the challenge, and it would have been open net for them to score it, but it's tough in those last-second situations for them to figure out exactly what's going on when it's so high pressure. And this is the highest pressure it's been for the DAFGL because this is the finals for their spring season, specifically for Rocket League in North America. It's nice to see that Space Monkeys are putting something on again. Gucci Dane comes out 10 seconds into this one, the fastest goal we have seen so far this series.
Every time Space Monkeys start to get some momentum.
Yep.
Gucci Dane specifically is finding those early goals. Gucci Dane is getting Hartford Yard Goats, pardon the pun, back in the driver's seat.
Oh, man, that's so unfortunate. Also, for those who might just be tuning into this game for the first time, this is Hartford Yard Goats up by 3, or actually not by 3, by 2, in game number 3, looking for 2 more wins in this best of 7. Need 4 total to come out on top. The Space Monkeys are looking for their first one. If they can get this one, it'll be nice for them. And a good bump and air dribble.
That's it.
And there's the finish. That's a perfect play from Space Monkeys.
Fruit Loop was a beast. Look at this. Completely dodges. That was the second person from the Hartford Yard Goats. And then sets Maya up with a little bit of a disruption onto the goalie, the bump, to knock them out of place. What a great play by Fruit Loop.
Yeah, she did amazing there. Basically did all the work for her teammate, and then Maya was able to follow up afterwards and put it on through. So crazy coordination from the Space Monkeys. And I talked about the best way to get past the defense is pulling off insane plays nowadays, and we just saw that exactly showcased to our eyes in this game. Is there another one coming out? Oh, what is happening?
Oh my God.
Space Monkeys are to the moon again.
Where did the goats go?
I got scared and faded. Oh, man.
Forgot to put fuel in their rocket, man.
I guess so. I guess so. This is crazy, though, because this is the most goals we've seen in the first minute. We haven't seen a goal in the first minute until this game. Now we've seen 3. Yet last game started super slow. This one super hot, and it's all high octane all the time for both these teams, it feels like now.
Hartford Yard Goats. I mean, now Space Monkeys have just completely reversed the momentum. Now it's the Yard Goats who can't keep up speed-wise, right? Finally, Gucci Dane with some possession of the ball, getting it back towards the Space Monkeys goal. Can anyone actually get that ball in a solid position for a shot? No, no dice. Maya's almost set up perfectly. Nice little clear there, sending it back into the corner, keeping it safe so the Yard Goats don't go even further down. But the Space Monkeys refuse to let this ball sit by their goal any longer.
That was crazy, too, because Maya was basically on like a ride along with the ball, trying to just deliver the payload into the back of the net, but unfortunately, the defender came from the right wing. So. That's true. That's true. I mean, hey, the goal could be the ball could be a payload that you deliver to the other side. Just a bit faster than happens in Overwatch. Oh, man. We're not even at the halfway point of this game, possible, and it's felt like an eternity.
Yeah, we had a very exciting first minute, and then the next 90 seconds have slowed down quite a bit, as both these teams are just relentless keeping the balls away from the center field, away from potential goal territory. Very nice defender rotation. Yeah, no, yeah, halfway point now.
And they just are taking their time too. And you mentioned the defensive rotations as well. That's so crucial and made the Hartford Yard Goats realize that they were in a bad spot defensively after those 2 quick goals in the first minute from Space Monkeys to bounce back. Because remind you, the first goal came out from Gucci Dane 10 seconds into it, and then the rest of it was dominated in the last like 40 seconds from that for the Space Monkeys. So now you're seeing it again. This is the most offense we've seen for them the entire series, but it's Talent looking for the double tap, and they get it.
I mean, how do you respond to this play? How do you respond to this play? All the way across. What a beautiful pass to its Talent.
Oh, yeah.
There's just no way to get in position quickly enough. You're in the complete opposite corner of the map, and in less than 5 seconds, it's set into the goal.
It's so tough, too, because that's what comes out with the top level of the game is the prediction aspect of it. You're playing like 3D chess, 4D chess in this factor because you're trying to predict the movements of the opponents that are going on. And communication is so crucial for that as well. You know a ball is coming out into the air, so you have to have someone on the backboard defending it for those touches. If you can't get to the backboard, you have a quick aerial to get up to it afterwards. But that reaction time is so hard to pull off, so the prediction game is that much more important. And its Talent, I mean, had the prediction on that, but didn't really need to worry too much because it was a long boomer of a shot, and they were able to clear this out, even with the demo on the goal line.
Great control from its Talent here. Ooh, nice little clear from Fruit Loop, preventing another goal. We are tied up with just over a minute remaining. Okay, Gucci Dane not quite able to set that one up aggressively. Instead, Yard Goat's going to have to play defense, try to keep this in the corner. Again, they've been so good at denying Space Monkeys any potential lines of engagement for those goals. And oh, dude, just barely gets the save there themselves.
Oh, wow. What a save from its Talent is doing everything defensively for this team. Got the last goal, too, to tie things up. Keeping them alive in this game is so important as well. It's been such a struggle for the rest of the team of the Hartford Yard Goats to face this offensive onslaught from the Space Monkeys, but now we're seeing them on offense, and that's where they are feeling the best. And who else? It's Talent, because they're just letting him do whatever he wants to on the field. It's working out for the most part. Almost went in there just off the mark. There's the follow-up to it. It's still not going to be there.
Good block, I believe, by Fruit Loop to at least disrupt the ball. It's still in dangerous territory for the Space Monkeys, but at least it's not in the goal. 12 seconds remaining, and we are tied up. Can Hartford Yard Goats put it in before overtime? Demos, everybody hitting the floor. It's a bloodbath as a last scramble for a desperate attempt. Space Monkeys, it looks like they just want to play for the OT. They want to deny the goal, and they just narrowly do so.
Wow, that was so close as well. We saw the pop-up. Maya tried to go for it, went for the challenge, like 11 boosts to the tank off the corner, and it was almost shot straight towards the net, but it was defended to the ground and could not be kept up in time. So 11 seconds, though. We almost see it go off the crossbar and in a little bit too high and too close of a shave for the Space Monkeys to get that game-winning goal. It's been so crucial for them, but on the counterattack it goes. Hartford Yard Goats, this is exactly what they need, a reset, because we haven't had many goals in this game comparatively to at least, what, like the 5 or 6 we've seen in the other ones.
And Plum's been a little bit quiet, too, for the Hartford Yard Goats. So I like seeing that juggle come through. No one there, unfortunately, as the ball just waves hello to the Hartford Yard Goats goal. Oh! And a narrow whip. Again, Plum not quite able to make these shots happen right now. Was so impactful in the first 2 games. But it's been all its Talent in this third one, and you can tell that Hartford Yard Goats struggling a little bit more.
Oh, Fruit Loop, if she was able to get a connection on that ball to redirect it to the net, that could have been it, but didn't have boost, didn't have the positioning, unfortunately. Was hoping for a lucky angle for the ball to come through. The demo from Maya onto Plum opens up some space, but it's just a little bit too late on the punch for those challenges and the brutality that we're witnessing on the Hartford Yard Goats side. But now a one-on-one situation. Nooshka didn't even get the boost because they needed that desperately for him to be able to put that shot on net.
Oh, nice double play there. Its Talent setting it up and then keeping the ball in an aggressive position.
Ooh.
Question is here, how long can its Talent actually play defense? We need to see its Talent getting involved in the other side of the field.
Man, and that clear that came out from Gucci Dane to the side of Plum, specifically on the side wall of the orange half, was crucial for them to get it aside. But the Devil's out, and another insane save by Gucci Dane. It seems like they're taking up the mantle that its talent had in the majority of the game leading into this OT. So many demos now.
Space Monkeys have gotten so frustrated, it seems. No shot this time, high and wide. Just skirting the top rim of the goal there. Space Monkeys want to keep Hartford Yard Goats on their toes. And I mean, the possession has been so much better. There's another demo, and but still no follow through.
Oh, no.
Hartford Yard Goats have almost set themselves up for a goal, just barely getting back in time and clearing it, but it's still center field. Okay, off to the side and avoiding the danger for now.
The biggest difference between Hartford Yard Goats in this game and the last one is all these individual counterattack plays. They're not working together for the midfield passes. They are just doing what they can because they are getting boost starved on their side, left and right. But Plum, flip reset potential, going for a second one. Going to be denied by Maya. They're not giving them the space this time because they are the Space Monkeys. They are the master of the air, it feels like, in this game. With a counterattack this time, still going to be off the mark.
Just narrowly wide. I mean, this game has devolved into chaos now, it feels like. Both these teams, we've been in overtime for 3 minutes. This is the longest we've gone without a goal, considering not only overtime, but also the game, 2.5 minutes before that. So many demos, but Space Monkeys, even with player advantage after player advantage, can't find anything tangible. And again, just barely wide.
The biggest difference as well between Space Monkeys and Hartford Yard Goats in this OT, Hartford Yard Goats have had all the shots towards the target. Space Monkeys, they've had them through the defenders who've barely been able to save them. So if Hartford Yard Goats can hit the broadside of a barn, they'll be able to get this one. Not like Stormtroopers, they're showcasing their skills on offense right now, but Space Monkeys, they are looking like the rebellion. They're trying to do what they can to take down the overlords that are on the other side who have won every other competition. It's still not working out for them. And it's still going in the favor of the Hartford Yard Goats. They have possession, but they're self-bumping, and it's just a total breakdown of communication.
Watching 4 players in a row miss the ball as it's barely moving just shows how nervous everyone is in this game, how much of a desperate scramble this has become.
We have had 8 minutes almost of no goals being scored with regulation and with this overtime.
This game started off with a goal in the first 10 seconds.
Exactly.
And now it's been over 8 minutes almost.
Oh, man. Still, Maya trying to do what they can defensively to get this one away from the Space Monkeys half, and they've been doing so well for this team. Same for Noosh. That was good coordination between the two players on the offensive side, but even the Hartford Yard Goats, they are not giving up anything to the Space Monkeys now, and they almost were able to put that one through, but still, these defensive efforts for the Space Monkeys eventually have to crack. It almost did there. They are still holding stalwart.
Both these teams have such a, like you said, stalwart focus on the defense. Their offensive lines, the rotations, setting each other up are crumbling, but both teams, when put under pressure, refuse to let anything go hayward. All 3 players, all by the goal, already set up. One person playing in, one person playing above, and one person playing in the corner ready to receive every single time.
This is insanity. We've had over a game of Rocket League played in overtime. I don't know about the last go around here possible, but is this the longest OT we've seen? No, it's going to be the end of it. Fruit Loop, she's going to get the goal for their team. A nice one for her to put it through. Into the air it goes. The defender flips aside, misses the ball, and the ball goes right past them into the net to get the Yard Goats their first loss, and Space Monkeys their first win in this series.
Finally, Fruit Loop gets it in. Unbelievable in our game 3 right there.
Wow.
And that's what we've been that's what we wanted to see out of the first 2 games. That's what we've been waiting for, right? You were saying at the very beginning, sometimes teams just gotta warm up. I think the Space Monkeys have got their engines revved and ready to go.
Wow, every player of the Space Monkeys has now scored in that game to get them the victory at the end. First it was Maya, then it was Noosh, getting those 2 back-to-back goals in the first minute, mind you. The last goal we saw from the Space Monkeys was at 4:04 on the clock, which is insane, where we went like almost 6 minutes. It was almost 10 minutes since we saw a goal.
Almost 2
finally
whole
got one
games of
for
Rocket
Fruit
League
Loop.
happened between the Space Monkeys goals, and yet they still come out on top in our game number 3. I really got to give it to Fruit Loop. She did. I mean, you know, you said everyone got a goal. Technically, that was true, but Fruit Loop set up the first 2 goals.
Oh yeah, very true.
And
Fruit
then
Loop did the
sunk
most
the
for
third
them.
one all by herself. So an insane game 3 from her.
Oh, man.
What a ridiculous performance.
That could have really gone either way, too, just based on the way the shots were going. The Hartford Yard-Goats, they had the majority of the shots in that OT, to be fair. The first half of it, the first, like, minute or two, definitely the space... I was going to say Space Goats.
This happened last time. The last time we had a DAF Gaming League,
they were the one able to do it.
there was another... The other team, I don't remember their name, but it was another team that had an animal name, and I got them confused. And I kept saying, like, the Yard... whatever it was.
The Yardbarks.
Sure, yeah.
Name.
That's a great name, actually. Someone patent that. All right, game 4
man.
here. Space Monkeys have avoided sudden death. Still 2 more if Hartford Yard Goats want to get their 5th DAF Gaming League title.
Wow. This is the first DAF Gaming League title it would be for the Space Monkeys, as they've won a couple different competitions that are out there, but not a DAF Gaming League title.
Well, they've won individually, but
Yeah.
as far as we can tell, this is their first real outing as a team.
We didn't even talk about the prizing, because that OT was too crazy. First place, they get a custom Air Force Gaming jersey, DAFGL patch, pin, and hat. Second place, a hat, patch, and pin. So
You want those
custom
jerseys,
jersey
though,
is what you
right?
want. You know,
You want those
that's what
jerseys.
everyone's competing for.
And you could say, oh, you know, I'm sure Yard Goats, they have jerseys, right? They've won this 4 times. Yeah, but Gucci Dane's new. So Gucci Dane wants that custom jersey now, don't he? All right.
Oh, man.
Pretty passive first minute of play here. Not like that 10-second goal we saw in our last game. Both these teams, it feels like they've just downloaded each other so well when it comes to the offense. The defense specifically has really picked up for both our teams.
And that's what I talked about when it came to the major we recently watched for Rocket League specifically. So they were able to just play so defensively because the level of competition has gotten that high. Once you know the other teams so well after playing them in scrims, playing them online so long, this is what happens. Fruit Loop just pops off. Last time it was an OT, this time to start things off in game number 4.
Fruit Loop is on fire.
That she is.
I personally wouldn't want to eat a bowl of flaming Fruit Loops. Although that is what they called me in college.
Oh, man. But we also have been informed by the lovely folks at Rally Cry that it is a new jersey design.
Oh, there
so
you
Hartford
go.
Yard Goats, I mean,
So
they
all
always
3
gotta
of them
collect
want
the
the
new
jerseys.
jerseys.
There we go. Even more reason. Hartford Yard Goats, they gotta start staying alive though. These last couple of games, the demos have been certifiedly Space Monkeys' favorite.
That they have. Which is crazy to think about, too, because you mentioned it going into the series that the Yard Goats, last time we saw them, they were so demo-heavy, it was hard for the other team to respawn and still stay on the field. But this go-around, Space Monkeys, they're like, okay, we're just going to take a page out of your book, and it's going to work that much better, because we're noticing that the accuracy, once the pressure gets to the Hartford Yard Goats, they can't do anything about it. And again, you see it happen there. They put it onto the net, they put it to the side wall, because they are rushing these plays, trying to catch up to the Space Monkeys, who were slow to start off this series.
Hartford Yard Goats, they need to find a gap in the defensive line here. Or they need to create one, at the very least. But solid clears. I mean, every single clear from the Space Monkeys in the last, 10 minutes of gameplay has gone in a direction that Hartford Yard Goats really can't capitalize on. Finally an open goal, but no one's there. No one's there. No one's ready. I mean, it was on the complete opposite side of the field. It's hard to be ready for that. You gotta sink that one, but no, it's denied. Noosh in position to redirect.
The biggest thing is, like, the defense, yes, it's been great from Space Monkeys, but there's been so many open opportunities that the Hartford Yard Goats have just been barely off the marker, haven't had the follow-up. They haven't wanted to overextend because they're so scared of these counterattacks that worked against them in the last game. So if they can get that out of their heads and just be as confident as they were in the first 2 games, which I know they lost an OT and a tough one at that, they still have a chance to pull this one off and get the victory. But with the trend we're seeing currently, the Space Monkeys, it's working in their favor.
Gotta keep up this defense, though. Hard to do with Fruit Loop gone. Here's the star player. hitting the floor. Oh, not sure what happened there. Yard Goats. I thought that was going to at least go toward the Space Monkeys goal, but it just flopped around in midfield. Another demo onto Fruit Loop. All right, is this the plan now? Yard Goats is just kill the best player over and over again, get those demos going, keep her on the
take
sideline.
him off the field.
Yeah. Right, if it's not her, it's Maya, but still it's so close. Fruit Loop almost gets that in.
Oh, man. If they expected that a bit sooner for the Space Monkeys specifically, they could have had a quick follow-up because the defense was flopping around, floundering, didn't know exactly what to do with the ball when they had it in their hands, and instead almost gave it up. But luckily they had two people holding on to it and were able to take it aside. So still 30 seconds, the lowest amount of goals we have had this series now. Every game has been an anomaly possible.
No two games have been alike. And now we've got 16 seconds for the Yard Goats to try and score and send us into another overtime. Or we'll have a tied series on our hands.
Wow.
Fruit Loop, I mean, just juggle the ball. Yeah, keep it dribbled or even sink another one in. Make it impossible for the Yard Goats to deny a 2-2.
And Fruit Loop, like 100% goal participation in these last two games, which is crazy to see. So she's been leading the charge for this team, but Noosh, that was all him all the way to put that goal in. Far down and in, 5 seconds, nail in the coffin, no chance of this amount of time, unless there was the world's quickest kickoff goal to come back. But now there is 0 seconds on the clock for them, and can't even get it with the follow-up there. Shut out for the first time this series, and the Space Monkeys tie it up 2-2. This is anybody's series possible. This is nuts.
That's the first shutout we've had as well.
No
right?
one's gotten the shutout yet.
Even in the one-sided first couple of games that we had where Hartford Yard Goats were dominating, even then they weren't able to completely shut out the Space Monkeys. Sure, you know, it was like a 4-1 scoreline and then a 4-1 that somehow turned into a 4-3 at the very last breath in game number 2. But Hartford Yard Goats, it feels like they've lost the rhythm. They've lost the sauce. Where have they gone, right? You know, Plum. It's talent.
They lost the plum sauce. That's what it is.
Exactly, right?
Plum has not scored since game number 1, actually. Now I'm looking at this. I could be wrong. Might have scored one in game number 2, but they weren't able to get one in these last 2 games. And Plum was the main offensive force for them in game number 1. Got 4 goals for their team, if I have my notes correct there. So seeing Plum being more passive, not as confident on offense, and having all those victories under his belt, and being one of the highest ranked players in this lobby from past records of being SSL. So Plum, we really need to see what Plum can do to turn things around for this team, because talent, they did pretty decent, and they were doing the best that they could defensively that last game, mind you. Gucci Dane has also been filling in that like 3rd-man role. Plum's been relatively silent, though. Need to see what they can do to pop off.
I did like the adaptation we saw toward the end of the last game, right? Hartford Yard Goats getting more involved in that physical gameplay in those demos. It keeps Space Monkeys on their toes at the very least a lot of the time. And you want players like Maya and Fruit Loop to be thinking about surviving instead of getting goals.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we're not going to have an opening 30-second goal, at least, so.
I don't think we're going to get another one of those. I'll be honest. These teams are just too familiar with each other at this point.
First 40 seconds, pretty uneventful, too, between the Space Monkeys and Hartford Yard Goats. Most of the goals that we've seen, like the first ones that have got in, about past the 1 minute and like 10-second mark. The first game took to like 1 minute and 5. Second game, a little bit before that. Now this one, Noosh able to get the first one, and the Space Monkeys have turned this series on its head as they are the ones leading the charge these last 3 games.
I really want to shout out Noosh's like close I'm not sure what the the technical term for this is. Help me out here, Vaudeville. Like the close proximity ball control, like the low momentum control of the ball. Noosh has been really solid with.
There isn't really a technical term for that, so you can really use whatever you want.
Oh, there we go.
Say
we'll
like
take
on
that,
the ball control or like close game with the ball. It works for the most part. Whatever we really say for it, but yeah, that control is so crucial to maintain possession of the ball as best as you can, and it's difficult for other players to challenge you because you're able to set yourselves up for a solid 50-50 wherever it comes from if you're that close to the ball, because they sometimes can't even see where you're hiding behind it.
Not quite the clear she was hoping for there. Hartford Yard Goats, they need a goal. Pretty quick, too. If for no other reason to maintain, like, to get their confidence back, right? It's been almost 20 minutes of gameplay since Hartford Yard Goats have scored.
That it has been. The last time that they scored was game number 3 at the 2:03 mark. So it's do the math yourselves at home because Cap's math not really reliable, but
we had 8 minutes of overtime.
Yeah, exactly.
Game, so, you know.
Oh man. Even then, I mean, going into this series with the way that the Hartford Yard Goats came out swinging, I feel like they might have overextended themselves, exhausted themselves, getting all those goals. And sometimes that happens when you go too hard in the first few games, going for these crazy plays. Mentally, it's exhausting in these best of 7s. The best of 5, it's fine because then you just need one more game. For this, you needed 2 more, and they haven't been able to pull it off just yet. And it's still back to an unfavorable position where they are down by 1. And so far, when they've been down in this fashion, they have not been able to come back, except game number 2, because Maya got the first goal there. Speaking of Maya, they got a goal here.
Nice little demo to set that one up. It's Talent getting rocked.
Oof.
And nobody is able to get anywhere near the goal there. All of Hartford Yard Goats really depending on that clear, but the 2v1 was too much for its Talent to take.
It's crazy to think about the way things have
guys,
changed
leave
so
him
much.
alone.
The demos are being so disrupted, but there we go, finally on target.
Finally.
Gucci Dane puts it through, ends the goal drought after over like 15 minutes at least, maybe 20 as you were talking about before.
I think it's 18-ish.
18-ish.
It's dangerous to do math as a caster, but I think it's about 18 minutes of gameplay there.
Wow.
Is that the swing back that Hartford Yard Goats needed, or was that a fluke? That's the question we gotta ask now. Guys. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. I was worried with how open that goal was, but it was too high to be really punishable. And then Space Monkeys just flip it right back. Not but 15 seconds. Yeah,
wow.
Cute with your one little goal. But you're not even within spitting distance of the scoreline.
That was an insane challenge from Fruit Loop, too, because they went at it with a side flip into the ball to make it difficult on the simple clear that was coming out from Plum. So they went over top of the ball, forced them to just jazz it away from it, and instead snuck it underneath their nose to put the ball through on the challenge. I mean, 200 IQ play from a Fruit Loop for her to put that on through, and they almost put another one, but they got to be careful about these counterattacks. Still, Space Monkeys, a completely different team than what we saw in games number 1 and 2.
Hartford Yard Goats are just lucky that the ball was heading towards Space Monkey's goal when 2 of them were sidelined by demos there. An absurd turnaround in this series considering how the first couple of games have gone, and Space Monkeys aren't giving Hartford Yard Goats any room to breathe. Their boot is on the throat of our 4-time defending champions.
This is crazy. A minute and 8 seconds left on the clock, too, for Space Monkeys to hold on to this lead. They got to be careful defensively, though. One thing I just noticed that we were talking about, too, that it was like games 1 and 2 for Hartford Yard Goats. In the last, like, 30 seconds, though, we did see almost a comeback from Space Monkeys in game number 2. They just couldn't pull it off at the last 4 seconds to get that final goal. So this is basically culmination of all the efforts they put in there. Anoush putting it on 4-1. Speaking of 44 seconds, Hartford Yard Goats, they're gonna have to pull off a miracle at this point.
This just looks casual. Look how far. That's from downtown that he comes in to slap that ball in. Just a little kiss, a little nudge. Inch that one in. A 4-1 scoreline. A complete reversal of our game 1 here in game number 5. The Hartford Yard Goats just glad that this isn't a best of 5 at this point. Otherwise, this would have been a brutal reverse sweep. 30 seconds remain now. I mean, surely an insurmountable cliff to climb. I know goats can go almost up 90-degree angles, depending on the type of goat. I don't know if yard goats are the ones that can do that, though.
Probably not. Yard goats are the ones that are fainting goats, I feel like, where you just startle them for a second and then they, like, lie down and pretend to be dead. And that seems to be what the Hartford Yard Goats are doing defensively here against the Space Monkeys. These last 2 games, it's been 6-1 for these 2 teams. Space Monkeys now 1 game away from pulling off the victory. Just lost the first 2, but they weren't down or counted out. They didn't hear the bell. They're ready for round number 5 to see how far they could go in this one.
Oh, they're feeling it now, right? I think that game had the most demos that we've had in any game, and the vast majority of them were in favor of the Space Monkeys. Hartford Yard Goats, I mean, man, it's hard. It's because we know the caliber of this team, right? It just feels like they've lost. Not they've lost their caliber. They've just lost the plot, right? Yeah. They've lost the thread that they were finding in those first couple of games.
It was their series. Now it's not their series. It's been ripped away from them. And it's like, this is my toy to play with now at the park or whatever. But going into game 6, this is going to be the biggest question. Can we get a game 7? Hartford Yard Goats. We haven't seen it in the last 3 games from them specifically. They've had some chances. They got to that overtime. They were missing. They were stressed. They were exhausted from the first 2 games because of how much pressure the last few we were seeing from the Space Monkeys. So game 6, this is where the Space Monkeys are just going to put the cherry on top, I feel like, unless we see a momentous swing back from the Hartford Yard Goats.
It's crazy. Space Monkeys 1 game away from putting 4 on in a row, denying the Hartford Yard Goats their 5th win already. Okay, there he is. He's back. We've been missing you the last couple of games, Plum, but good to see a solid start.
Hasn't scored since the first 2 games, led the charge for them, got 4 in a row for the Hartford Yard Goats in game number 1, but now able to get that first goal off the sidewall with a great aerial and just didn't even need the fall through. Maya couldn't get the touch on that defensive play. So this is the first time in a while the Hartford Yard Goats have had a lead since that game number 3 that went all the way to a 6-minute overtime, mind you. Nonetheless, Hartford Yard Goats, they need more than just that one, it feels like.
They need to keep up the pace. They need to put Space Monkeys back in their place. Fruit Loop down. Noosh will clear it, though. Not quite the opportunity Hartford Yard Goats were wanting. If they could get a second goal within the first minute, I would feel confident about our chances for a game 7. Timing doesn't quite work off on the pass through the middle of the map there, though.
And again, first minute, we have a goal that comes in early, but apart from that, it's been relatively silent apart from the Hartford Yard Goats. Now turning things up to 11 with the demos and the bumps and the disruption.
There we
Who
go.
else but Plum? 2 back-to-back, 5 seconds after the first minute of play.
Yard Goats not getting bullied any longer. They're putting their fisticuffs up, getting back into the physical gameplay of things, setting Plum up for a very nice goal there. A solid start for them in our game 6. And now Space Monkeys, now that they've had some near comebacks, right?
True.
But correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure every game the team that has started with a comfortable lead like this, they've ended up winning. There hasn't been a true comeback in an individual game as of yet.
That's very true, actually. The first game, we saw the comfortable lead from Hartford Yard Goats. They got the victory. The second one, Maya did score the first goal, but then we saw 4 back-to-back from Hartford Yard Goats. They won that one, of course, almost a comeback from Space Monkeys, but they couldn't do it. And then the one after that, it was a lead from the side of Space Monkeys. It wasn't comfortable. It was just by 1, and eventually went to OT. They still got the victory. And apart from that, it has been that same trend. So that's the only trend we have seen throughout these games. We've all been different. So this lead might be all that the Hartford Yard Goats need.
The only trend we have is whoever gets 2 goals first wins.
Yeah.
Hartford Yard Goats feeling great about that. And keeping the pressure on, too. Space Monkeys have hardly had any real possession of the ball this game. Hartford Yard Goats, they've just turned it up to another level. Look at this pressure. Look, every single angle, the ball can hardly go past center field.
This is all you could ask for a finals, I gotta say, possible. We went into this one, you said, oh, it was kind of a sweep, one-sided affair yesterday with Overwatch. I looked at the ranks for these 2 teams, like, okay, knowing Rocket League and knowing these ranks, it can either be a sweep or very one-sided, depending on if they aren't being truthful about their ranks specifically. Well, this is pretty one-sided in this game, specifically Gucci Dan now making it 3-0, and the trends continue to flow the exact way as we talked about. Whoever gets those first goals typically is the one who wins, and that's what we're looking at, but still 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock.
It feels like the Yard Goats were just playing with our hearts for those middle four games, or those middle three games.
The last 3 games, and now they're like woke back up and ready to party.
Yeah, they were just like, yeah, we can take a break. We want to go 7 anyways. It's more exciting that way.
Oh man, a little under halftime now remaining for the Space Monkeys to try and bounce back, and they haven't really had any foothold on offense against the Hartford Yard Goats. It's been a struggle for them to even get out of their side, and that plays into the favor of the Hartford Yard Goats. On these kickoffs is typically the time when you'd be able to reset that, because then you actually have some momentum going for you, and Noosh might be the one to do just that if they can maintain possession of the ball well enough. But that was the struggle there. They gave it up because they were feeling pressure defensively and didn't want to challenge and lose possession too early.
And not able to get it out of the corner. Such good defensive work from Hartford Yard Goats. 3 attempts to try and cycle that ball from the corner into a viable position for a goal from Space Monkeys, and every time Hartford Yard Goats are keeping it into the corner, and finally Space Monkeys ran out of juice.
Minute and 10 seconds now for the Space Monkeys to pull off 3 back-to-back goals. And they've done something similar before in game number 2, mind you. They were able to do it in less time, and if that was a correct angle from Maya, that would have been it. Noosh tried to set things up. There's a bait out from the last defender, but pushed up a little bit too far. Do we have Fruit Loop on the side of the Space Monkeys, so they have to go back for another pass and see what they can do with it, but it might be a little bit too late for them to pull off this comeback with what we've been witnessing so far possible.
40 seconds remain, and Hartford Yard Goats just refuse to give up the ball. Anytime Space Monkeys are anywhere near it, Hartford Yard Goats are just juggling it perfectly! Ooh. And Plum sinks another for a hat trick in Game 6.
This is the Plum we are expecting to see from game number 1, who is silent for the most part, but now awake and ready for them to come out, and it will be Hartford Yard Goats with 31 seconds, the way things have been going so far in this game, for them to take the victory in this one. I mean, Space Monkeys, if they get a goal, that'll be huge for them going into this game 7, but still, it's going to be tough, and make that goal number 5. It's talent. This is reminiscent. We talked about there hasn't been really similar games to each other. This is very reminiscent of game number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Hartford Yard Goats back on top. I don't think we've said it enough, but reminder, 4-time champions. 4 times Hartford Yard Goats have been in the finals in the DAF Gaming League, and they refuse to lose. It's not even about winning or losing Game 6 at this point. It's about showing Space Monkeys that those other 3 games, the reason we're even in Game 6 at all, those were all a fluke, if you ask the Yard Goats. This is their true potential.
With 19 seconds, less than that now, there is no chance to come back. But maybe potential to take a sunny trip to Brazil with these 10 seconds now. Would be nice if we have one final one coming out from Plum. But Hartford Yard Goats establishing their dominance in this game. You mentioned it, basically making those last 3 games a moot point, because having the momentum going into the final game of the series matters the most. Almost got that one.
Would have been.
Barely missed it.
Would have been
a 7-0. Now we've had 2 shutouts. One of them being a 2-0. This one being 7-0, so much different compared to what we saw before for the Space Monkeys.
7-0 is a little bit more dominant.
No, that's what I was saying. So much difference between the 2-0 sweep, or the shutdown, and then the 7-0. 2-0 was just in the first minute and 5 seconds from the Hartford Yard Goats.
What happened, man? Where did Space Monkeys go? Right?
First 2 goals, they couldn't do anything after that. A lot of teams can't pull off a comeback like that. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's one thing for it to be like 2 goals and be hard to pull off a comeback, but at least to keep it close, right? Like that's what we saw from Hartford Yard Goats when they got shut out a couple games ago. But to just lose control so quickly, right? For those goals to come in the first minute of Game 6 and then just never stop. There was never a moment in this game where Space Monkeys felt like they had a chance. Right? There was never a moment where I was like, oh, okay, there's the Space Monkeys from games 2 through 5. Okay, we're good.
Exactly.
Yes, Hartford Yard Goats got a lead, but at least the team's still there. It felt like after those first 2 goals came through, Space Monkeys
just put down their controllers.
They put their brains in Game 7 already, right? They're like, well, that's it. I guess we're going all the way in our grand finals here in the DAF Gaming League. Starting out with some blood. Noosh already getting blown to smithereens.
This is going to be so crucial for Space Monkeys to get that first goal. Get those first 2 goals. We talked about the trend going into this last game, now into this one too. Whoever gets those first 2 goals typically is the one to win, and has been the case for 6 games now, so I'd assume the trend will continue. Space Monkeys, they just got to get possession of the ball, hold on to it, and keep it away from the Hartford Yard Goats. Go for their own demos, so we witnessed so many for the Hartford Yard Goats in retaliation, but also the accuracy that we're witnessing now. They have course corrected themselves. They got the aim assist, whatever they need necessary going. They got it locked on and loaded. Now they just need to execute on these attacks.
Space Monkeys feel like they have a little bit more room to breathe, but not much. It's still been a very Hartford Yard Goats possessive game thus far. A little bit of a fumble on that mid pass. Not quite able to set it up, and Space Monkeys will take advantage. It's Talent trying to keep it away from the goal now. And we'll dribble it on over to Gucci Dane, who juggles it up over the head of Fruit Loop. Nice little pass from Maya, though, or it would have been, had the defender not been there. There's something goalward, and Gucci Dane delivers.
It was the first one from Gucci Dane, but the biggest question on who's going to get that next one. We haven't seen a 1-goal game thus far. 2 has been the minimum of goals we've seen one team have. It could just be 1 the entire way, but defensively, Hartford Yard Goats haven't been known to pull their punches when they go on offense afterwards, where they're feeling confident, and confidence is key, and exactly the key that they have to the kingdom of offense here for Hartford Yard Goats of this finals matchup between these 2 teams. This is the last chance for either of them to get those jerseys and make sure that they can represent the Air Force Gaming League as much as they can.
Brand new jerseys. Just 3.5 minutes away if the Yard Goats have their pick of the litter here. It's Talent with a nice little dribble. Oh, I thought he was going to get that over Noosh too. Gucci Dane at least keeps the pressure up. Nice setup.
Ooh.
Oh, surely that should have gone in. Fruit Loop just barely denying it.
Oh man, that was a little cheeky play from Fruit Loop, trying to go for a better angle on the challenge, but didn't expect to be called out by Hartford Yard Goats so quickly. Instead, would have had a simple shot to the net and into the back of it. It would have gone because no one was there, but waited a bit too much time for the center, and it didn't quite work out because there was someone from the Hartford Yard Goats called off to go for that challenging play. So Space Monkeys, that's the best look we've seen in like the past game from them, and that's only one of them in the last half of this one, and they need more where that came from.
And that's the best look we've seen, and it still didn't secure a goal. Still, hardly a shot Space Monkeys have been able to take. You know, they say if you take a shot at the king, you better not miss. First, you need to put bullets in the gun, Space Monkeys.
Oh man, yeah, they haven't even had the opportunity.
There
but
we
here's
go.
the counterattack, and there's a miss and a demo, and still goes off the post. What kind of luck is that?
And the defense from Gucci Dane denies any momentum shift for Space Monkeys. At least they're able to keep it away from their own goal, try to keep it toward Hartford Yard Goats side of the field. Not a half bad setup, but 3 players,
Ooh.
3! Oh, everyone ready from the Yard Goats to play defense in an instant. So much pressure from the Monkeys, but they can't deliver. Not with this wall that the Yard Goats are putting up in front of them.
Problem too is all the Space Monkeys went towards the ball. They just were monkey-brained about it, went forwards, and didn't give any opportunity for anyone to come with a counterattack or a challenge afterwards on the rebound. It was full send from them and didn't have quite a strategy behind it. So they need to change that up if they want a chance to tie things up. Otherwise, this 1-goal lead is going to stand, and it will be a repeat performance for the majority of the Hartford Yard Goats.
Less than 90 seconds remain. Hartford Yard Goats, you know they want a second goal, but first things first, they have to keep track of their own. Ooh. Nice little setup there.
Oh.
Noosh couldn't quite get the backflip, though. The connection whiffs by just a bit, and that gives Hartford Yard Goats an opening. Now, if they could sink a second goal here, that would surely be this game. This finals knotted up. Plum trying to keep it toward the center. Floats above the rim, though. No opportunity for the Yard Goats just yet.
Space Monkeys were out in this free space, basically without a tether there defensively, tried to just hold on and hope someone would rescue them, but luckily they had one last defender able to get it aside, but Luck's not on their side because they can't even break out of it. No boost in the tank. Can't refuel for the most part. Finally, we do get some here from Noosh going on offense. One final chance and should not have given it away that easily. We're on a 2-on-1 situation. Would have been better to pass it off to your player, but the pressure is mounting so much for the Space Monkeys. The new kids on the block for this matchup between the Hartford Yard Goats, who have the veteran experience, and you can tell why they do have that. Less than 10 seconds now. The other direction it goes. There's one final shot from Maya if they can get it.
3 seconds, Hail Mary time, but the ball so far from the enemy goal and a downward trajectory. It hits the floor, and that's a 5th trophy on the shelf for the Hartford Yard Goats. 5 in a row for Plum and its talent, and Gucci Dane joining them for this win. An insane best of 7 that we got. Hartford Yard Goats, they had all but disappeared in the middle of this series. And in game 6 and 7, they come right back on in and remind everyone why they already have 4 of these wins.
It just goes to show the experience wins out in the end. Hartford Yard Goats, they were non-existent in those 3 games. The swing that we saw from the Space Monkeys, but talked about exhausting yourselves a little bit too much. We did see that happen after it went to that game 5 situation where the Hartford Yard Goats came back, or game 6, excuse me, came back and were able to close things out. But going into this game 7, I talked about it. Once the Hartford Yard Goats had that dominant of performance, it is very difficult to bounce back from that crushing defeat in game 7. Whoever has the momentum typically into the game 7, they win that one, and that's exactly what we saw. 1 goal is all it took. Didn't need more than that. The first time throughout that, and then 2 back-to-back shutouts to come back for the Hartford Yard Goats for the victory. Kudos to them, but valiant effort for the Space Monkeys for them to put up that stellar of a fight.
I'm excited for the Space Monkeys' future in the DAF Gaming League, personally, right? Considering that this is the first time we'd seen them in a grand final. I thought all 3 of these players, Fruit Loop, Noosh, and Maya, Fruit Loop especially, in my opinion, were phenomenal in their own right. But that experience that you were talking about, right? Sure, this is, I think, the first best of 7 actually we've had in the DAF Gaming League. Or at the very least, the last finals was a best of 5. But even still, that best of 5, if I remember correctly, had a couple overtimes in it. So this elongated series was something that the Hartford Yard Goats were prepared to play. It was essentially a best of 9 with how long that game 3 took, right? We had an 8-minute overtime. That was almost 2 games inside overtime in and of itself. A 90-minute series of Rocket League almost that we had today for our grand final. Absolutely insane play. So I'm excited for Space Monkeys to hopefully come back in our next season. Summer season is just around the corner. Summer season happening from June 10th to August 20th. Not only Rocket League, but also 8 other of your favorite titles across 11 weekends. So make sure everyone has a chance to make their mark. Visit Air Force Gaming or airforcegaming.com for more information and get involved there. What an insane day we've had. Thank you to the Space Monkeys, honestly, and congratulations to the Hartford Yard Goats. What a series we've had for our second title in this weekend of the DAF Gaming League finals.
We still have Modern Warfare 2 after this.
And it's not that long of a break, thankfully, too. I mean, our Rocket League game went so long, it's barely 30 minutes before that starts up. 5 p.m. Eastern time, folks. You're going to want to be back here for Modern Warfare. It's going to be I Hold Shift and Visions. 2 phenomenal Call of Duty casters taking you through that action. Thank you all for joining us for Rocket League, and we'll see you in just a short bit for some Modern Warfare Call of Duty action.
Hi, my name is Wesley Prophet. I'm a GS7, one of 3 recreation specialists here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. As a recreation specialist, we do quite a number of things for the airmen. We run the fitness program here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So as far as the group classes that we have staff instruct, we have contracted classes, contract employees out to teach. We run the FIT program, which is the fitness improvement program. So for any airmen that are struggling with their PT test, they come see me. And also on top of that, we do a number of base-wide events where it could be a zombie 5K run, triathlon, fitness fair, just a number of 5Ks, ping pong tournament. We're having a pickleball tournament next week. So we have all that kind of stuff going around year round. My gamer tag is near and dear to my heart. I think I'm going on, we'll say maybe 17 years running is West Press. For me, video gaming started way back in the day, as people say, with, I would say, Nintendo, as far as playing Duck Hunt, regular Mario. Before it was Super, it was just Mario Brothers. My main games right now, PUBG. That's what I play casually with my friends. But the ultimate main game that I declare that I'm at least top 100 in the world is Halo Wars 2. I don't want to say I play competitively in leagues, but I definitely play on the ranked. The highest I've been ranked in Halo Wars, I play a lot of 2v2. The highest I've been ranked was 167 in the world, which is it's not the best, but it's nice. So it's always been like an extreme passion for me. It's just something I've really done throughout my entire life, and now I get to make it part of my career somewhat, which is nice. I actually heard about Air Force Gaming, I would say about 2.5 years ago. Kind of came from the pipeline for my leadership. After reading into it, just sounded like an amazing thing. Like I was prior Air Force myself, and I was in from 2010 to 2014, and Air Force Gaming was not even a thing. But had it been a thing, I know I definitely would have been into it. It brings airmen together, and it brings some veteran together and other guardians, and it can kind of make us talk and collaborate and work together and kind of build these relationships and whatnot. Ultimately for me, it's just the fact that I can kind of compete against my peers and play for fun and whatnot. We have this event coming up called Fit Fest, where it's a huge fitness expo we have at the Jarvis, or one of our outdoor tracks. We're renting a gaming trailer. It can fit up to 16 gamers in there, and we're going to use that to kind of kick off our NBA 2K intramural league. I feel like that's going to be pretty nice. Like, I will shout out to one of my best friends, one of my Halo Wars partners. His name is Bren McNeil, gamer tag Bronze McNeil 08. We consistently played Halo Wars. We would be in the basement playing Halo Wars, maybe 3 hours, barely talking to each other, unless it was just like, enemy units over here. And he's definitely like one of my, major gaming buddies, so I'll give him a shout out.
You don't have to dive, you don't have to do anything crazy. Yep, that's exactly what the Nocturne needs to be doing. Yep, this is good. This is exactly what the Nocturne needed to do. Disorient, confuse, Samira. See if that results in a wipe. This should result in a wipe, and immediately after this, I'm calling Baron right now. I'm calling Baron. Alright, there we go.
Take that advantage while he's watching for that back rebound. Yep. Challenge.
One player.
Got another.
The other two are
Goal.
gaining back.
Get it to him.
Match point in the final game of Grand Finals. Whoever wins this wins it all. And mandatory funds looking to take it all away. Beat 12 rounds up. You knew that time was going to get ever shorter. They start counting down, making the pressure be applied. Absolute insanity. As I said before, mandatory fun! Let's give a loud applause for them! They are our winners.
My name is Julian Arroyo. I'm a tech sergeant coming from Joint Base San Antonio. My name is Jufasa Gamer Tag, baby. My little neighborhood was a little rough. So my homeboy had a friend that actually signed up for the Army initially. Signed up for Air Force initially and switched to Army. I wasn't switching Army. I've seen Warzone. I really wasn't into battle royales at all initially. Tore my Achilles, COVID happened. Next time I know I was playing battle royale and I loved it. My favorite loadout right now, of course you get the meta loadout, RPK, but I've been gravitating more towards the Tag V. If you haven't tried the Tag V, try the Tag V. It's a little bit hard to control, but that's definitely, to me, it's gonna end up being the go-to gun if you control it. My teammate Joshua Pounds, we communicate well together. We love when we get in situations where you think we might not get out of it. We usually communicate the best during that point in time. We do a lot of things without actually having to talk to each other. We know what's going on. I always feel good. I'm competitive, so I always feel good about my chance to win anything. You know, I'm good. I'm always scouting stuff out, always scouting players when I can. So I like sitting back and scouting, but me just seeing stuff and the way I see stuff as it is now and hearing people talk about other things, I like our chances. You know, I'm really confident in our chances.
Hey guys, OPX here with Air Force Gaming, bringing you a review for Fury. Fury is an arcade-style boss rush bullet-hell dueling challenge developed by the Game Bakers, who are also responsible for Haven, Squid's Odyssey, and Combo Crew. Let me tell you right off the bat, this game is hard. No sugarcoating here. The game presents you with 10 bosses back-to-back that all play completely differently and require you to have swift reactions and a keen sense of your surroundings. I won't spoil some of the later bosses for your convenience, so the gameplay shown will only be for the first 3 in the game: the chain, the strap, and the line. The game has a dual stick mechanic where your right stick controls your gun and the left stick controls your movement. This can take a minute to adjust to at first if you're not used to controlling 2 things at once. Your options for moving though are not limited, as you're able to infinitely dash in any direction, which can help you dodge projectiles and other attacks. Learning this mechanic is crucial, as you don't want to take unnecessary damage against bosses that hit hard. Most boss fights come in 2 sequences, the arena phase and the dueling phase. In the former, it's your job to figure out their attack pattern and punish the boss's moves with either your gun or running up to them and pressing the slash button to combo them. After you've gotten their first bar down, you enter what is, in my opinion, where Fury shines the most as a dueling game. The player and the boss have sort of a mini arena where the boss will almost exclusively try to melee attack you, giving you, the player, 3 options: either dodge, block, or attempt to parry the attack. Doing so with near perfect timing will not only grant you precious health back, but also a chance to strike against the boss in an attempt to whittle their health down. Rinse and repeat, then move on to the next. The best part of this game, however, is undoubtedly the soundtrack. Fury presents you with banger after banger, featuring artists like Danger, Wave Shaper, and Carpenter Brute, among others. Lastly, Fury also offers an additional way to play with the new Onimusha DLC, where you play as an alternate version of your character that plays completely differently. If you want to be challenged and have a bunch of spare PS4 controllers laying around, give Fury a shot. It's currently $20 on Steam, with the Onimusha DLC costing $7. I've been OPX, and thank you for watching.
Hi, my name is Wesley Prophet. I'm a GS7, one of 3 recreation specialists here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. As a recreation specialist, we do quite a number of things for the airmen. We run the fitness program here at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So as far as the group classes that we have staff instruct, we have contracted classes, contracted employees out there to teach. We run the FIT program, which is the Fitness Improvement Program. So for any airmen that are struggling with their PT test, they come see me. And also on top of that, we do a number of base-wide events where it could be a zombie 5K run, triathlon, fitness fair, just a number of 5Ks, ping pong tournament. We're having a pickleball tournament next week. So we have all that kind of stuff going around year round. My gamer tag is near and dear to my heart. I think I'm going on, we'll say, maybe 17 years running is West Press. For me, video gaming started way back in the day, as people say, with, I would say, Nintendo, as far as playing Duck Hunt, regular Mario. Before it was Super, it was just Mario Brothers. My main games right now, PUBG, that's what I play casually with my friends. But the ultimate main game that I declare that I'm at least top 100 in the world is Halo Wars 2. I don't want to say I play competitively in leagues, but I definitely play on the rank. The highest I've been ranked in Halo Wars, I play a lot of Season 2. The highest I've been ranked was 167 in the world, which is it's not the best, but it's nice. So it's always been like an extreme passion for me. It's just something I've really done throughout my entire life, and now I get to make it part of my career somewhat, which is nice. I actually heard about Air Force Gaming, I would say about 2.5 years ago. Kind of came from the pipeline for my leadership. After reading into it, just sounded like an amazing thing. Like I was prior Air Force myself, and I was in from 2010 to 2014, and Air Force Gaming was not even a thing. But had it been a thing, I know I definitely would have been into it. It brings airmen together, and it brings some veterans together and other guardians, and it can kind of make us talk and collaborate and work together and kind of build these relationships and whatnot. Ultimately for me, it's just the fact that I can kind of compete against my peers and play for fun and whatnot. We have this event coming up called Fit Fest, where it's a huge fitness expo we have at the Jarvis, or one of our outdoor tracks. We're renting a gaming trailer. It can fit up to 16 gamers in there, and we're going to use that to kind of kick off our NBA 2K intramural league. I feel like that's going to be pretty nice. Like, I will shout out to one of my best friends, one of my Halo Wars partners. His name is Bren McNeil, gamer tag Bronze McNeil 08. We consistently played Halo Wars. We would be in the basement playing Halo Wars, maybe 3 hours, barely talking to each other, unless it was just like, enemy units over here. And he's definitely like one of my, major gaming buddies, so I'll give him a shout out. Hi, my name is Wesley Prophet. I'm a
Already welcome back as we saw some Rocket League there for a moment, but now we're jumping in to Modern Warfare 2, the Call of Duty scene live and in action for you. My hold shift, good to meet you, good to see you. With me, of course, as always, Austin Visions, Neil. Brother, this is going to be a fun one, man. We don't get a chance to do a lot of these, but it's always fun when we get the opportunity to jump on and watch some Armed Forces gameplay. I'm pumped about it.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited too. We just came off of like a heater of a series, goes all the way to like a game 7. So, I mean, it's already off to a really nice start. And now we get to go into some Call of Duty and we get ourselves into a little game 4, game 5 action. You know, that's what we're wishing for, but we'll see what these guys have to offer.
I'm here for it. Best of 5, as my partner there just mentioned. Couple of surprising things for you guys. Both of these two teams will have a chance to get the DAFGL hat, patch, and pin, but the team in first gets custom AFG jerseys. Woo! They look good, too. I'm not going to lie. All the little video promos that we were seeing, they look saucy. And I'm not just saying that. I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it, but I do think that, so we said it. Let's get to know these teams and these players, though, before we jump into map numero uno. And, well, the team names, they're great. Buff Boys going up against the Glizzy Goblins. We've got Nick, Charms, Gandalf, and Cola on one side. Timbo, Save, Tantalize, and Vendetta on the other. But it's going to be hard for us to keep a straight face when we're casting over our team names of the Glizzy Goblins and the Buff Boys.
Yeah, I mean, they're having some fun, right? You got to absolutely love it. I mean, I haven't seen Gandalf play, but I'm already a fan, right? Like, I don't need to see that man play. I like the name. I like what we got, and we'll see exactly, you know, what's going to be kind of the key players to step up, right? Like, in both of these teams, you know, we'll get a kind of a clean look when we get into the map sets and kind of get our footing, at least jumping into that map number 1 for who the carries will be.
Yeah, just as in case you're not familiar with the Call of Duty scene, we run through a set rotation of modes, but there are particular maps that match up with those modes. So we'll start with your traditional hard point or kind of a King of the Hill system. First to 250 points will win. The hills rotate every 60 seconds. Then we'll go into your traditional bomb and defuse mode. Search and Destroy is the name of the mode for map number 2. That is a first to 6 with sides swapping every time. And then the only other unique mode in the mix is Control for map number 3. 2 different control points you need to capture. If you successfully capture one, you will get an extra 60 seconds on the time limit, but you only get 30 total lives to play through each individual rounds. That is a first to 3. So, kind of talking over that, we would then go to map number 4 is another hard point. Map number 5 is another Search and Destroy. Starting us off, the map for both of our 2 maps, though, is Fortress, Austin, and we kind of know what this map obviously kind of provides. Very quick, very small. You expect to see a lot of gunfights all the time, always.
Yeah, it's a great map, you know, for both basically weapons, right? Like, you could pull out that sub, you could run around, you get very obnoxious, but you can post up with an AR on this map, man, and you can just lock it down, and you can just set up and find a lot of kills. So, it is a really, like, good map, I would say, first for this best of 5, because it's going to get us a really clear look at who some of the standouts will be, who's actually got a good awareness of putting themselves in successful positions, and also, you know, what some of these rotations are going to look like. I think it's going to give us just a really clear-cut idea on who the standouts are going to be, which is what we're looking at, right? So, Fortress, very mixy, very interesting, very snowball-y. There's always comebacks that you can potentially see on a map like this, too.
Yeah, this is definitely a map where you get a little bit of everything when it comes to, like, what makes a good hardpoint team. Like you mentioned, the individual skill. How well are they actually able to lock things down and shoot at one another? That's obviously step number 1. But these hardpoints, these particular hills that we are going to see throughout each individual rotation are very difficult to break, more often than not. What we like to call full 60 hills, where you get there, you set up. The possibility of you getting an entire 60 seconds off of that hard point is very, very probable. So that's where we're going to look towards things like who's able to find the best timing for rotation, going from one hard point to another, to kind of try to either benefit off of that and snowball like you mentioned, or just be able to kind of get themselves back into the game. So that's going to be kind of the things that we look out for. Just another small little thing. We'll kind of give you guys little tidbits here and there if you're not familiar with the Call of Duty scene. We are expecting to see 2 different submachine guns, 2 different ARs. When it comes, well, 1 different weapon of each, but 2 players running each of those. So that's kind of another thing to keep an eye out for. The Vaznev for the SMG players and the TAC-56 for the AR. This map, I think we definitely try to keep our eyes more towards the sub players because they're usually the ones creating plays, whereas, like you mentioned, the ARs are the ones kind of trying to stabilize and get those setups locked in.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it, right? When the ARs don't get the the actual idea of getting there first, getting to the top window, top single, whatever it might be on the map, yeah, it could be really problemsome. You're always coming out of your spawn, pre-aiming, expecting the gunfights to come your way, so it can be really difficult to get those setups. So definitely what we're looking for, but maybe these guys, bring out something we haven't seen, Alan. We've seen the Vast Depths, we've seen the Tax. Maybe we get something different throughout the series. We'll have to find out, but we're kicking it off. Map number 1, let's get into it.
Oh, I like the skin already from Tantalize. A little radioactiveness going on with Attack 56. First blood good for the Glizzy Goblins. Second one also there. So the first hard point at the bottom right-hand side of the map will go their way. An opportunity to start earning some key time, and Dalt is going to throw down one of those key trophy systems. That will negate any incoming grenades, but it's not going to be needed here. Buff Boys, nice for the initial break attempt, and they're on for a little bit of time of their own.
Yeah, a chance to be able to maybe even push forward, and you could see that actually happening at the moment. So could get an interesting look at what the spawns are going to be. And yeah, P3 spawns now coming through. Glizzy Goblin's going to have to find a way to stabilize, and it's just a matter of, will you get a read on this? Cola won't be able to, but at least P1 time is still going over, and they still got the favorite side of the map.
Yeah, looking good at least for now. Good recovery from the Buff Boys, considering how convincing that first set of kills came through for the Glizzy Goblins. You have Safe Halo on the rotation, kind of looking to open up this Gallows hard point with some contests, and that will actually work out pretty okay. So, yeah, the contest is in the mix. Cola and the rest of the Buff Boys, though, cleaning up around the back. Glizzy Goblin still trying to secure this break attempt, and Timbo's going to try to hit her out, trying to flip these spawns where you see the Buff Boys are really locked in.
Good opener, able to find that first one there. And now a chance to get a read, maybe, and push all the way to the back. But a pinch comes through, and Timbo needs to get a read on it, and he does. Chance still to fight for time, but another 1v1 needs to go his way. Charm's going to have none of it. Spawns look to be good here in the middle of the map for Buff Boys, and they're just actually going to make the call. We need to rotate to new. Let's set up for this Money Hill.
Yeah, this is, again, the big one on this map. This fountain hardpoint so difficult to break, and Nick is already moving through trophy system. Oh! Thought for a second he was going to get caught putting down the trophy. Not the case. Nick, little jump up, gets himself on 3, and how about the Buff Boys on rotation?
Yeah, that is just clinical. You'll love to see it there. Good gunfights coming through. The teamwork to make sure they bait and switch. And, well, Nick finds 3, but a chance to fight back. We call this a Money Hill, but there is a chance to flip out the spawns. However, you have to be a little bit worried of it. They can come behind you. They can kind of disrupt the play, but no one's going to be able to get to the back. No one's going to be able to fully flip it just yet for Glizzy Goblins, and now they're going to try to approach this from the front.
45 seconds still on our third hill. Glizzy Goblins, as you mentioned, kind of 2-2 split here. 2 from the front, 2 from the back. And they are starting to find a couple of key eliminations here. Oh, the Buff Boys kind of lost track of this break attempt, and there's a full team wipe. Glizzy Goblins will flip the status here at Fountain, and with that also the spawn. So 30 seconds of scrap time still to fight for. Buff Boys are going to get this one more good college try, and why not? First 2 kills are there. It just comes down to, can they secure the final moments of this break? Tantalize on 3, almost gets the 4th, but it will result in a 1v1 that goes the way of Glizzy Goblins, and that will secure the back 12 seconds.
That is a beautiful back 40 in total for them. I mean, breaking that, really Tantalized, getting through that gate, blocking that close spawn, being able to get themselves through. That's a great moment for them, and a chance maybe to translate this right over to the next hill. You already see kills coming through for Timbo. He is positioned up top, just trying to keep him off the time.
Oh, Timbo, well done. One more down low. Shots were decent on both sides, but the Buff Boys will survive through the 1v1, and with that, have a chance to get themselves the proximal spawns towards this 4th hardpoint. Timbo from the front just trying to run on through. His teammates cleaning up around the point, and they will break very successfully. A pretty tight game so far, but the Glizzy Goblins on a 5 spree for Dalt. An opportunity for maybe one of those key score streaks to come into play here, which could turn the tides a little bit more.
Sure could. Still time to fight for it. Charm's able to come in and add some assistance to the point. It looks like they might be able to bully it out, but don't get a full read on it. Teammates are now there for the trades, and Buff Boys surely able to secure maybe this back 15 seconds, unless we can see one final hit here. Trying to fight for it. Tantalize not going to get a good look, and now going to start to retreat back up and set up for this next hill. Very close game here so far, 92 to about 75, but the setup looking good for Glizzy Goblins. They're now in position to maybe run away with a bit of a cushion.
Oh, Nick just caught with his knife out, trying to flip the map around just a touch. Nice shots coming from Timbo, tracking him through the window. Blacksmith, our final hard point in this rotation. Going the way of Glizzy for now as they get over the 100-point mark. Break attempt for Buff Boys coming a little bit in pieces here. Not really fully constructed with all 4 members. Timbo up top is a huge problem as well. No one really getting him out of that position, but White, nice little double. Twitch is over. Oh, a nice triple from White. Ultimately, though, still an opportunity for Timbo to contest, but Buff Boys will have the last member surviving with a chance to start earning some time here in the last 30.
Yeah, first real look at this hill. They finally get themselves on it, but Dalt doing a good job of just finding some of these lingering members, right? They're ahead of the curve right now. They have that slight lead, so they can always move first to the next hill, and they even break for some of the scrap time. This is going to put a lot of pressure on Buff Boys to try to actually get here first and set up around P1, but they have no idea about some of the lurking members that are already behind.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of extra proactivity that we're seeing from the Glizzy Goblins, and that may be why there's this 30-point cushion at the moment. Back to our first hard point, though. 120-94 the current score. Buff Boys in the hill, surviving pretty nicely, if we're being honest with one another. All 4 members are still here to defend against this. Sure, Glizzy Goblins are moving around the back, but it's being read, and now the Buff Boys will kind of have the alarm bells ringing as kills through mid-map will start to come through for Glizzy Goblins.
Just have to try to fight for some of this P1 time. At least let it go neutral, and Timbo gonna make the jump, make the chow. He'll come out with 2, and this is a perfect moment for Glizzy Goblins. They're gonna flip the map on its head. Buff Boys now gonna have to brute force their way through this gate door, and Timbo's on 4 in a row. Will be shut down on the spree, but good work to be able to get in there, fight for some of that time, and keep them pinned at the back. But now the spawn's getting a little bit wonky. One player gets through.
Yeah, definitely the case. Buff Boys keeping it at about the same margin score-wise when we entered into this hill. They would love to lock down this second hard point coming up in the next 2 seconds. Cola already in position for when this hill unlocks. 1v1 in the back, well won. More now from the side door. Buff Boys with some reinforcements on the way. Contest in for just a moment. Last player to deal with is Dalton. The kill does come through. 5 in a row is where it stopped, the killing spree for Dalt. But Tantalize kind of picks up where he left off, now on 4. And with that also, they lock down the spawns. The next hit looking a little bit more solid, and oh, is it ever. 5 in a row for Tantalize, and Glizzy Goblins get into the hard point.
Yeah, he's about to overlap his cruise missile. He's already got 1 in his back pocket. He's just been on a heater, putting up the number 16-9 for him. Dalt's also going to make that fast transition. Going to move right to new. It is a lot of time, though, to fight for. Still 20 seconds up for grabs. Buff Boys should be able to overwhelm, and they will. Good time for them, but once again, have to find a way now to break through to the back.
Yeah, the positions that are already in here for the Glizzy Goblins are solid ones. And even on top of that, they're so solid that Safe Halo is going to try to contest for a little bit of the scrap time. So now the war is kind of being forged on 2 sides at once. And Buff Boys, at least they're able to cleanly get the exit from the old hard point with a chance to still stack up and maybe cement some sort of a break here. Just comes down to will they actually full band 4 hit this.
It's a good opener. The entry's good up top. Nick might be able to break through, and we'll be able to find the second with a little bit of assistance.
Wow.
Looking for the third. Nick's doing it at the moment. Finessing now for the 4th. Dalt is feeling the pressure. They've been able to overwhelm and get to the back, but it's still a 50-50 battle for spawns.
Oh, yeah, you can see it. It's a conga line coming on the left side of the minimap here. And Dalt's able to kind of read it, take care of a couple, but still, even though Glizzy Goblins are in the hard point, it's not with a lot of safety. Oh, my goodness. What did Safe Halo just do? Cola's looking to secure this trade, but delaying a little bit of extra time was safe. Eventually bounced out of the hard point, but it comes at a bit of a cost here for the Buff Boys. Looked good on their first break attempt. They're going to get the back 10 seconds, but ultimately we'll still have about a 20-point game.
I'd love to see the Glizzy Goblins try to zone just like this. Yes, stop this rotation as long as possible. You can see everyone on your minimap still on the right-hand side. The furthest one pushed forward is going to be Nick. He is one of those key playmakers, but he's also going to be shut down. Dalt now on 4. Dalt for another one. Looking for the full wipe, but won't get a read down low. Charms will finally end the spree, but it's a great opening 15 seconds for Glizzy Goblins.
Yeah, it's really, again, we look at the scoreboard kind of through the KD lists. Everyone over 20 kills, everyone positive except for Safe Halo, who's just slightly underneath the even margin on Glizzy Goblins on the other side. I mean, Buff Boys are getting outslayed, but they're still hanging in and Tantalize. Okay, letting them know about that one. A little knifing of the body. Desecration. 220, 164. Buff Boys, door is starting to close on this comeback chance. Have to get a break and have to have it now.
Oh, gonna have to really battle out these ARs too. Dalt and Tantalize, they are just absolutely on one. Problems for sure, but not out of it just yet, as you say. Buff Boys gonna have to do a good job, at least on this next rotation, though. Scrap's sure gonna be secured for them. Timbo actually gonna give it another look and potentially play for exits, but his teammates are starting to drop here, so he finds himself in a weird spot. He's not gonna be able to contest the new hill early. He's just trying to find transitional kills, and will finally pick up the first, a chance to break it open and see if he can try to fight for the time.
No, but there is at least one elimination. Cola's still existing in the hardpoint. Help is on the way. And there's the trades coming out. Okay, hold on a second. First 20 seconds, tallied to the Buff Boys. 187 to 226. Dalt trying to work his way back in, stuck in the corner. Skull, nearly got the snap on the Dalt. Small break here for the Glizzy Goblins. Contest immediately right back into Killfeed, starting to go the way of the Buff Boys. Just have to kill Dalt. He eventually drops. Numbers still amounting here. The Buff Boys, they've done exactly what they needed to do. Never really let the Glizzy Goblins get any time here. And now a chance to kind of reset, go back to the first hard point, and try to extend this game a little bit further.
I'm going to have to try to get something done on P1 very quickly. Glizzy Goblins still have control of the favorite side of the map. Still in a lot of these power positions. Timbo not going to be able to cut down everyone, but Charms can't exactly run forward just yet. And yep, there's the wall bang there from Save Halo. Lines up 2, looking good for the dub here. Tandalize gets a read from behind. A couple more seconds, no one in position. Glizzy Goblins, they'll grab map 1.
Wow. Really tight game, though, for a lot of it. I mean, we were sitting between a 20 and 30-second margin pretty much from start to finish until we got to that last little P3 over to the 4th hard point again, where the Glizzy Goblins just really started to wake up when it came down to players securing kill streaks. I don't think we ever really actually saw our cruise missile called in, so earned a couple of them, just never needed them, which is always kind of interesting to see. But I think the biggest thing about that kind of synopsizing through it, the fact of the matter was Glizzy Goblins are being more proactive on the map. They were getting to places first. They were winning gunfights in that back 20 of one hard point into the next first 20 of another, and that eventually allowed them that chance on that second set of hills to really start to incrementally grow their lead little by little.
Yeah, exactly. That was a huge part of it. They started just kind of being ahead of the curve, right? That's that leader's advantage we talk about, that ability to rotate first, give up some of that scrap time. You don't have to send too many resources into it, and the rotational kills were great. I mean, also what you were seeing out of the ARs here, I mean, a lot of it's probably going to be from Tandalize and Dalt throughout this replay package, but the two of them together, man, I mean, they put up probably about 50 to 60 kills. They were just all over the map, finding every single kill necessary, and, well, making it flashy too, Alan.
Absolutely. This play right here from Nick, I mean, he was, the last time we were here, we saw it on the kill cam. He got that really impressive triple. He also was the main factor for why the Buff Boys were able to kind of secure some tug-of-war over the Fountain hardpoint as well. So great stuff from Nick. It just came down kind of at the end where, you know, you see Dalt, he's 31 and 16. Like, he's just doing a ton for the squad, and there was that little bit of difference, I think, just in the individual skill coming from Dalt, who was taking over, as you mentioned, kind of as that lockdown AR. Anytime that we saw the Buff Boys trying to rotate through somewhere, Dalt was there to meet him. So tough scenes, I would say, for the Buff Boys, although, again, kudos for keeping it as close as they were, because it was a mixy one, as we expect always.
Yeah, it was. Well, at least now we know, a couple of their subs, like Nick, I think specifically, one of those playmakers now that we can maybe look towards, especially coming back into an S&D. They're playing the same map here, and, well, we know Fortress S&D, really just about one bomb site that you're going to attack, which means that you're looking at the subs to kind of open up a little bit of that space, do some of those top jumps. I would imagine Nick's going to be at the start of that line, but, hey, listen, could be an S&D team, right? We've seen teams get smacked around a little bit in the respawns. They come out in S&D, and they start swinging, so maybe that's what we got here on the other side.
It's very, very valid. It is very valid. This is a very bizarre map of Search and Destroy because it's not your typical setup, kind of feel each other out, pick it apart. Sometimes you just gotta get right on in the action, which is often, I think, what we very regularly will see. And I like that you point out Nick as a potential option to do that for the Buff Boys, considering that he is running that VazDev. So, wow, crazy stuff as we are going through at this point. We have also, just to kind of give you the full map set for those of you Confidentics that are out there, Hotel will be the control, Mercado will be the second hard point, and then Embassy, if we need the map 5, will be there for our second Search and Destroy. So those maps all play very differently to Fortress, and obviously we'll talk more about that when we get there, but just know that the game is not always this crazy if you're someone who doesn't often watch the COD scene.
Yeah, it can get mixy fast, with some of the maps that we have on the rotation, but others a lot more straightforward without a doubt here. But Fortress definitely one that, it's just difficult, I think, to be creative on in a lot of situations. And when we watch it at the highest level, Al, we see the utility really be like the X factor on this map. Like, if you throw too much of it, then that's probably going to, significantly hurt your retake, as well as, just trying to get control of some of those power positions. You have to almost kind of wait and time them, work around those trophy systems, and fish for for a lot of information, right? And have to wonder if these guys are willing to play that patient game, or if it's more about like, let's just full send it a little bit. Let's just try to double stack things, take these challenges, open up the map a little bit, and maybe we'll actually get to see this other bomb utilized. Here, we don't get to see it, when we watch it. So maybe that could be up and up for grabs too potentially. We'll see.
Indeed. Just as a reminder, in case you're joining us here late, this is the Spring League Finals for the DAFGL G League, and with that, we also want to make sure that you guys keep your eye out for the summer season. That'll be happening June 10th to August 20th with 9 different titles across 11 weekends this summer. So if you're looking to play, get involved. Everyone has a chance to kind of make their mark, have a chance to play. Visit airforcegaming.com for more information. Again, that is June 10th to August 20th. Dude, 11 weeks worth of gameplay. That's awesome. I mean, we get a lot of stuff like with the college con scene. That's probably where we have our most regular season, and I don't even think we get 11 weeks worth of gameplay there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a lot, right? It's a nice little season, going through playoffs, coming all the way to a grand final, and have a shot to come out with a lot of the merch and a lot of the prizes that we have here too, right? Plus, on top of it, it's a lot of fun, man. I mean, that's something that you got to give a huge shout out here to the Air Force for. They're always making sure that they're putting a lot of investment into the esports scene, making it very fun. And every time we come here, cast the grand finals. I mean, that's what it always is, man. It's always a great time, Alan.
It's always a good time, and so far, both of these two teams showing that they could very well be extremely evenly matched, which you and I, we love a good mixy tight game of COD.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I know the Search and Destroy on Fortress is just around the corner here for us. Again, I'm also curious, just for what it's worth. We didn't really talk about this. We talked about the VAS devs, we talked about the tax. Still an opportunity if you are a quick sniper. You've got that little pixel angle under the doors. Scopes could come out to play here and be an X factor.
Yeah, they could be like you know what? Now that you bring it up, it's surely we're gonna get a scope, right, from one of these guys. Just show us a little bit of the flash. I mean, based off what we got there and some of the first or plays in the first map, it could be very interesting, very mixy. But yeah, man, you work some of those tight corridors, work into the site. Like those picks then stop you from peeking going forward, and then even not using the sniper in some of those rounds. Just the presence of having it previously is like, okay, maybe I don't have the opportunity to actually search for info and play as loose as I might be, playing up against Tax and Vazis all the time. So it's a very, very valid point, and we've seen how players can just have a great individual performance and just completely shake up the map.
We also look for things as kind of what we label as a flex roll, where maybe one round your AR puts away the AR and pulls out a third submachine gun. That's also something that kind of can help you change the pace around and throw those little curveballs. Again, we'll have to kind of look to see how deep the playbook goes for these two squads, how well rehearsed they are, how familiar with one another they are, and do they have the ability to kind of keep their map pool loose enough to a point where they actually do have preset strategies on both sides of the bomb. It's interesting things, because you and I, we cast the semi-pro scene, and there are some teams out there that need some help when it comes to getting their playbook together. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, even like seeing like the same team do the same thing over and over again and then still get away with it, right? Like that's something we see from time to time too. So it's gonna be very interesting, but it looks like we are good for map number 2 here, ladies and gentlemen. Glizzy Goblins, good in that map number 1. A chance for Buff Boys, though, to try to respond here in Fortress S&D.
First blood, good. Dalt's able to get the first kill. Nade not quite going to land here, just a little bit off top of the archway. But Nick will have a chance to kind of move things around. I do believe, just for reference, our team names at the top are backwards, so we'll keep that in the back of our mind. So our team in blue will be the Buff Boys. Team in red will be the Glizzy Goblins. Shots will tag Tantalize, but he does keep his life, so 3v4 situation now. And for Buff Boys, it's just about, how do you get this bomb planted safely? It looks like Nick is just going to put it on and say, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to get it down.
Yeah, let's just stick it. Let's just stick it, send it, and try to get out and reset, and that's exactly what they're allowed to do. Very patient retake so far. Buff Boys expecting a late pinch to potentially come through mid here, and they do have a right read on it. Kills might come in. The first one's there. Halo's got eyes on the second. Won't be able to finish off White. He is able to reset, and now you're a little bit low on time.
Yeah, a little bit of a tough situation for sure. White now by himself, 1v2. Could just try to watch off this timing. Has the angle. First kill is good. Now all of a sudden, 7.5 to defuse. Safe is looking for the kill. Even if he gets it, he will not get back to defuse the bomb in time. Well played by White. Give him the credit for the 1v2 in the first round for the Buff Boys.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, right? You know, you're definitely waiting. You're trying to show a little bit of patience. You're expecting a wrap to come through, but I think, you know, too many members might be sitting and waiting for that wrap, and it hurts them. They get to the site at about that 25-second mark, and by then, it's a lot to still clear through the back, through that middle building, and White finds that little timing, that little corner where he's tucked under the staircase, pops up, says hello, says thanks for the round.
Yeah, really well played by White. Swap the sides. Nick looking to get up top single. Oh my goodness, the prediction's incredible. A brilliant first blood on the Dalt. And now Buff Boys will hold numbers defensively, and even more so, Glizzy Goblins have not been able to make any moves really out of spawn yet. I mean, Tantalize is so worried about Nick up top, right across the way, that Safe Halo doesn't really have a chance to get the bomb forward, but Dead Silence will be utilized. Tantalize moving quickly to try to clear out the space. And that should be enough for Safe Halo to jump on for a plant, and so he will.
Well, might be able to stop the plant. Yeah, the wallbang shots come through. Another kill was there. Tantalize somehow able to find one back through the door. All those shots connect. White's just maybe waiting for a sound cue here. It's going to be a difficult chow. The stun goes wide. Doesn't hit him. He might be able to get some great timing.
Yeah, well played here by White. Just completely concealed, and then along the back, Charms will finish off the final. So a 2-0 start here for the Buff Boys. Good first blood in this round. Nick kind of showcasing some of that top-tier mobility. And we'll even do a couple of chin-ups before he decides to defuse, waiting for those field upgrades to charge a little while longer.
Yeah, might as well. But, yeah, what a route. I mean, that stun going a little bit too far is going to sting, but, you know, you're not always, you know, kind of just like narrowing down on where you're throwing the stun, right? It's like, okay, I'm assuming it probably connected in the hallway. You kind of make that assumption. You maybe got a sound cue inside the inner door. And you have to play that little 50-50 and just kind of guess for the gunfight. Fortunately for him, just gets a bit of bad timing. Retake is good, clean as ever. 3 members alive and well. And you mentioned the field upgrades. Now going to have maybe that luxury coming into a round 3 to start to snowball this one a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely could. Comes down to, will there be a good response here, though, all of a sudden? Again, team names, just for reference, are backwards, so listen to our voices, ignore your eyes. Tantalize quickly onto the A site. How about that for the Glizzy Goblins? That's the bomb carrier also dropped, and Tantalize very wisely backs up towards safer confines.
See how they decide to play this now. Bomb going to be picked up. Tantalize might have more work to do. And doesn't have all the assistants with him to do it. Just one player that's kind of hovering behind one of the corridors, but he's at least in a position to stop this entire play. And while this is happening, Dalt's also working up top here with the Vaznef, looking for some more kills.
Just have to be very clinical about how you clear these spaces out if you are the Buff Boys on offense here. And that's exactly why. Oh, Tantalize to the little drop shot, nearly doubles up. His teammate will secure his trade. And the Glizzy Goblins, say that 10 times fast. The Glizzy Goblins will find their way onto the scoreboard.
Yeah, they finally get there. A great opening chow. I feel like that's like one of those day one chows, you know, that you just don't always expect. Catch you off guard, use the bomb as the heady, and just take that gunfight right away and just stop them from even getting a foot inside of the site early and just really force their hand. That's what happens. They have to slow it down quite a bit. That numbers disadvantage, and finally they get the round on the board. Chance to build off of it now going into an attack.
Think about the mind games that's going to play as well onto the Buff Boys with Tantalize getting as quickly as he did on top of that A-bomb. Things to think about for the future. But here in round number 4, Nick thinking about going long around the outside. This is a dangerous route to take. Just so much information that you just do not get until it's around a corner from you. Dalt may have just seen Nick on the jump. Yeah, for sure now he has. Semtex doesn't quite connect. But for the moment, the Buff Boys have gotten out of dodge and now can set up their defense for the more traditional A site.
Stopping Nick from getting up top is everything. He is just one of those players that once he gets forward, he's very dangerous. We've seen it so far. Those first 2 round wins. He's battling out with one of the players on the site. Tantalize will get a bit of assistance there. And they will find first and now a second. Nick feels the pressure, wants to make a play, but just can't connect with any eliminations.
There's so much damage. That's going to feel terrible for Nick. I mean, he put damage into 3 different players, probably had him down to below 50 HP. Just could not quite get the last shot to connect, or maybe the doorways and the woodwork around the site got in the way just a little bit too much. So 2 rounds in a row here for the Glizzy Goblins. Gets us to a tie game, 2-2. And this is where, again, I'm curious to see what Buff Boys are going to do to try to stop Tantalize from possibly pulling off that same quick route to A again.
Yeah, I like that shout. Maybe even using that same aggression, just a bit of a different angle here. Have to be ready for it. And Nick's going to swap it up a little bit. Doesn't have that Vaznev. Is going to pull out that AR. First Blood, though, again is here. And that's going to hurt them on the approach. Maybe going to slow them down again in the back.
Yeah, Charm's got aggressive, kind of where the old first hard point was in the bottom right side of the map. Good trade comes out, though. Kind of counter aggression from Dalt gets punished. And a follow-up through the closed archway. So now you've got numbers for the side of the Buff Boys to get the plant down. Tantalize looking to jump top single window, and he will get there. Cola just in the deep side. White down low below him. And the dead silence will be used. Tantalize going to get to work trying to clear out this building.
Should be able to get to this back window here. And, oh, does he spot him on the site? It looks like that gunfight does come through. He does spot him and now has a chance maybe to get one in the back. White is not really a part of this play, so White's now going to have to go big again. We saw him 1v2 clutch with the bomb down rounds before. 15 seconds left of the clock. They're going to try to stick to the fuse, and White's got the timing in from behind. First one is there. Just need to play his life, and look at, he's done it again. He has done it once again. White with the 1v2s, baby. How about it?
This guy's cold, brother. Are you kidding me? Just pops up from behind. You kind of saw it for a moment. Tantalize looking to hop for the defuse. He was looking toward that staircase. He's like,
yeah,
all right, let's not get 1v2'd from the same spot twice. But White hits it from the back, and that works out for the kill, plus just enough time off the clock to stop any follow-up. So another technical 1v2 from White, and the Buff Boys get up around 3-2 now.
Gotta feel good, man. Couple of ice seed plays here, keeping them on top, but still want to build off of it. Couple rounds to give you a cushion would be great. Opening gunfight will go through here, and that means that you're going to have a lot of stability. You have great control on the A site. Going to be difficult on the opposite end. Have to try to work a pick to open up this map and this setup.
A little bit of information there for Tantalize. Knowing that the defense has pushed forward. Good punish comes out. That was Dalt who secured the kill. But hold on a second. Cola is up top in boat room and looking to get frisky. White watching his top single window. Cola does not have dead silence, so he will not really be able to go too much further than this without making noise. But, oh, Tantalize just walks right in front of him. Bad timing there. And the bomb was looking to get planted by Save Halo, but he's pulled off now into the 2v3. Dalt looking to secure this trade. Tags coming out. Cola just playing with his food. Nearly still gets the kill. Dalt survives on 1 HP, and 2v2 we go.
2v2, gonna try to stick it for the bomb plant here. And this should catch them off guard. Both players were just kind of lingering around the site. They back up. And now going to have to play retake. Safe Halo going to play through his side of the map and going to invest the dead silence. He loses his teammate. All up to him. Does he get the trade? He does. 1v1, 30 seconds on the clock.
White's already hot for the defuse. Safe has to check this, but he's on 1 HP. He also wants to wait for his regen. Does he check this in time? He can't see him. White has clutched up 3 of the 4 rounds for the Buff Boys. What?
He's going to have to change his name, Alan. Change his name to Iceman. I don't know, whatever he wants, because he's clutching every single round. That is 3 of the 4, as you say. This guy, man, he just does not play any games. He's like, listen, you found my teammate, you're across the map, I'm just going to hop the bomb. You got to come check. If you don't, round's mine. It's simple. Let's keep it very simple and easy. And now you need this one if you're Glizzy Goblins.
Yeah, you sure do. Tantalize getting aggressive once again over the top of the side. Glizzy Goblins will lose first blood. Trade does come out. Offense stays into a 3v3. Buff Boys. Nice shots from Nick. Are you kidding? Wow, doesn't miss a single bullet. Dalt still hunting for the trade. Nearly gets punished for it. The follow-up on the way. But that's not Dalt. And now all of a sudden Cola's like, hold on a second. That was Joker I took down. Where is Dalt gone? As White will once again get to work on the objective.
Oh, it's a challenge. There's a challenge. Oh, you thought for a second he was going to snap and transition for the second there mid-shot, but doesn't happen. Cola able to just barely find the head of Dalt. If that's not a headshot, he doesn't find that.
No. Oh, man. How tight this has gotten. But round by round, it's been tight. The scoreboard tells a different story. 5-2
It does.
with 3 in a row now for the Buff Boys. Make it 4 in a row, actually. Pardon. No, 3 in a row. I lied. So the Glizzy Goblins would have to win 4 straight. Defense of Cola already making their way on towards the site. Dead Silence will be utilized. First blood behind him gets tallied. That was White out of the picture, and then quickly Dalt follows up. And one more up top. No, Nick does keep the defense relatively healthy. 2v3.
I don't want to bite off more than you could chew here. They're able to get one back. Nate's not going to connect. But will Halo be able to exit? No, he cannot. But now it's all up to 1. Tantalize has to clutch up a 1v2 to keep his team in it. Now a 1 versus 1, and Nick takes it. Little extra shots there, and now that is going to be it. 6-2 victory. Buff Boys, they answer back.
And what a tight set of rounds we just got. Weird to see the final score be 6-2 considering the circumstances, but I mean, we got to give credit where credit is due. White
Truly
just took over in every single clutch moment that he was called upon. 4 and 6 overall, but he technically converts 2 different 1v2s thanks to playing the clock. He's also part of that final little 2v3 situation, kind of in the later stages of that surge. So, I mean, the guy's all over the place, and he gets the job done. So now we're tied up at 1 map apiece here, Austin.
Yeah, we got our answer, right? Might be an S&D squad, right? You never quite know, but it definitely comes to life there for them. You could just see how much more comfortable, how much more fluent they even were with a lot of the plays that they were making, you know, individually as well as some of the team plays. Just very good coordination. Couple chin-ups here as well thrown into the mix. Got to get some exercise in, but overall, just good responses it felt like we were getting there from Glizzy Goblins, and good adaptation throughout that map, not doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part about that, just to piggyback on the not doing the same thing over and over, on both of those 1v2 situations, White played 2 different angles to make sure that he was staying unpredictable. So, again, big kudos, I think, out to the clutch lord, White. Nick also, obviously, a massive part of this search to destroy. That opening first blood really set the tone from the first round. And then here, the final 1v1 plus extra. So, how about it? The Buff Boys find a way back into the series. They're tied up 1 map apiece. As we mentioned, we go to our 3rd and final unique mode. It's going to be Hotel for our control. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And then we will guarantee ourselves at least that Mercado hardpoint. But before we jump into that Hotel control, we will take a brief break. While we're away, again, make sure you give some love over to the Air Force Gaming Squad by visiting airforcegaming.com. And, of course, keep your calendars clear if you want to get involved and play and possibly be casted by us 2 lovely lads. At the Summer Series, July 10th, or June 10th to August 20th. Make sure you check all that out on airforcegaming.com. We'll be right back with Hotel Control right after this. Welcome back to Modern Warfare 2 and the COD portion of the AFG Minor League Grand Finals. My whole shift with me, of course, still Visions, and we are in a heck of a series so far. We had a really tight hard point, and then even though the score was a little bit lopsided on the Search and Destroy, the rounds independently were very, very tight. But, Austin, we need to kind of transition away from Fortress, now talk about Hotel and the control mode at large for those that may not necessarily be giant Modern Warfare 2 fans.
Yeah, exactly. Hotel, a much wider map, and it's a little bit more difficult, I would say, to navigate from what we're used to for Hardpoint, right? Pretty straightforward, kind of control the back spawns, get yourself into the point. Controls, takes a lot more team effort. There's a lot more 1v1s that are, much more critical to determine, hey, do we have control of this back area? Are we now flipping them out to the other zone? There's a lot of that manipulation that comes through with the spawn. So, I feel like it's going to be a lot more difficult for the subs to be, really influential on Hotel, but I think this is where you have to call for some of those ARs to really step up on the other side and match the slaying pressure we were seeing earlier there from Dalt and such.
Being able to play as a lockdown player with an AR is so much more crucial on any map when it comes to control, simply off of the fact that you're going to spawn on the same side of the map in some form every single time. You have an attacking half, you have a defending half, so if you can lock down a lane, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about players spawning up behind you or anything like that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The assault rifles definitely play a more critical role in this particular mode. So it'll be really curious, I think, to see what we get, because so far it really has been, at least the last map, Nick and White were really stepping up for the Buff Boys, getting their map in the Search and Destroy. Is there going to be some life from the AR side of things now coming into the mix? We really haven't seen, that really be a main factor from the hard point for the side of the Glizzy Goblins, or like we just mentioned in the Search and Destroy for Buff Boys. So those players I think are going to need to step up, like you mentioned, and possibly be what determines the, maybe not full outcome, but maybe a difference maker between these two squads, which are so tight when it comes to overall skill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you take a look at the rosters that we have here again so far, and as you've been touching on, it feels like we've had a couple of those key individuals, right? Like on the side for Glizzy Goblins, it really has been, some of those ARs, Tandalize, and I mean, we have Dalt. I'm not sure which name he's going under, I guess maybe Vendetta. But, those two, I think, have been the clear standouts. And on the other side, we talked about White, who I would imagine be under Gandalf, and, he's been the objective guy doing whatever he has to. But you're looking at Charms and Cola. I think these are the two individuals that need to match the slaying power, like we said. You can at least get yourself set up first, get yourself to some of these positions, win some of those key battles, and then let Nick push forward. But it's going to be a lot more difficult on a map like this for Nick to kind of do everything, get the advantage, and then push for a little bit more. You really do need that assistance there as that submachine gun, and just kind of have someone watching over you.
And we don't really have this as a actual statistic, but you and I, we talk a lot about map possession, just being able to control space, especially key areas that, going back to your initial point, start to manipulate where your opponents are going to be spawning at. Sometimes in terrible spots. Others, you neglect to take away key spaces, and all of a sudden, they're spawning right around the zone, which is not at all what you want, depending on whichever perspective you're looking at it from. Again, it is a 1-to-3 mode. We will play potentially up to 5 rounds. The thing that's interesting about Control, though, is that it's not just capturing the zones that's your main objective and goal overall. You very regularly get round 5s in these controls, which the tiebreaker of that is determined by who gets the most overall progression across all of those zones. So even securing what you're going to see here, some of those ticks of progression as each zone is depleted into 3 different segments, can also be pretty key. So we'll see what we've got for our 2 squads. Glizzy Goblins in the blue over towards the B side on their opening attack, but first blood collected by Buff Boys as they lock it down.
Yeah, lock it down. A couple of nice kills coming through. Nick actually pulls out that AR, so almost answers that question of, will there be a little bit more AR presence here for the Buff Boys? And so far that answer looks to be yes, as trades go back and forth. Might finally be able to maybe make something happen on this 8-point. Dalt's going to do a good job pushing forward, clearing out room, and now they'll be able to stop the clock.
Yeah. Joker jumping on in. That extra member will help this progress be captured a little bit faster with multiple members on. So pressure now to the Buff Boys, who are looking to kind of go around the back. This is going to take a lot of time, and the kills are still coming up in favor of the Glizzy Goblins. White trying to clutch up good first shots, but he will not have a chance at the second gunfight cleanly, so he will concede that extra 60 seconds, and we go into a 25 versus 24 lives remaining with minute 50 on the clock for the Glizzy Goblins to make their moves towards B.
Yeah, and now you have to, kind of dissect, all right, how are we going to do this? Are we going to push all the way through the back and try to flip out the spawns to the 8-point that was just captured? Or are we going to get bedroom control? sooner or later have to find these players in bedroom, but it's a good opener here from Charms. He's going to be able to find that first one. Might have a read on the second, but some players starting to get in from behind.
Oh, nice shots from Joker, 4 in a row. One of the players that we haven't really seen kind of pop up yet, but boys, he made a statement in the opening moments of this control. Dalt on the zone. Tough gunfights through mid, and once more, the Buff Boys across mid-map and in those key positions defensively behind the zone are actually working out really nicely. Joker on his way to keep the hot hand up. A double now all of a sudden in his second life. Joker nearly gets 3. Does get turned away. Nick, the culprit of that, but the trades are good, and immediately Dalt back on the zone, and he'll lock in that first segment of progression.
Yeah, there's only one defensive member here to meet him, and that's going to be Charms. He's going to fly out here a little frantically. He is able to at least combine for one with the help of his teammate. It's a great pinch right through mid. Cola opens up a lot of that space. 3 in a row coming off that spawn. And that's going to slow down this offensive push just a tad bit more, down to about a minute. 14 lives across the board here. And now we'll see Halo making the play. Dead silence popped.
Yeah, and he knows there's a player right above him. Going to get a freebie onto Charms. Meanwhile, just keep an eye on number 4 in the minimap in blue. Tantalizes all the way around this defense and in spa. So his position will force the Buff Boys to spawn where they absolutely do not want to be spawning at, top right side of the map. So these players that are right here with Cola need to find a way to clear. Good first shots. That will clear off that second tick of progress. In fact, the kill behind that will allow them to further deplete it. The only question is, how do you get Tantalized out of this position back towards spa with an 11 playing 8 left remaining with 32 seconds on the clock?
Good kill in the back. They'll be able to find at least one from behind. And now looking at what might be one of the final team pushes. And wow, the shots over the top. White able to find another. And that might do it there. Now the final push for sure. Kitchen Spawn's coming on through. Glizzy Goblin's just going to have to try to bolt it and get a touch on this point.
Yeah, and everyone's just holding corners, making sure they're not giving away any freebies. Love it from the Buff Boys. Good collection and great defense in that bedroom position as you were kind of framing up. Isolating the Glizzy Goblins from the front, also making sure that they didn't have a chance to really group up or hit in tandem one another from the back and front simultaneously. So it's the full A zone plus 1 tick of progress over towards B that gets captured, but ultimately the Buff Boys, I have to imagine, are pretty happy with that defense.
Yeah, I would imagine so, without a doubt, especially this map being one of the more offensively favored ones. To get a D first in the very first round, gonna feel great for sure, and just some great, heads-up calls coming on through, just not biting off more than they could chew. Backing up, playing inside a bedroom. White with a couple heads-up calls, just not pushing those flanks, just being annoying, and then playing his life beautifully was a constant problem there. But a chance to flip the script, a chance to be able to have a defensive win of your own. We'll see what the opening looks like. Nick gonna make his way right over to B.
Yeah, they're trying to hit this through the mid-cross with nades to support. Safe trying to keep himself under cover, but not going to work out. And now you've got 2 members on the zone for Buff Boys, and the defense is nowhere to be found. Oh, no. Joker trying to get around the back, but he needs to wait for help, and he doesn't have time to wait for help. All 4 members for the Buff Boys are on. Second tick is locked, and look how fast that third tick's coming through. And the Glizzy Goblins essentially just forfeit the zone, but they don't even have a defensive setup over towards A here, Visions. This could be a quick transition for the Buff Boys.
Yeah, this is not good. They're going to have to get through this cross right through mid before they can even look at the restaurant. Dalt's going to do a good job of at least kind of backing all the way up here, trying to make sure the pinch is safe, but his teammates have to win the battles in the restaurant. Halo able to find one, not ready for that second. Still have defensive presence here, but this 1v1 is everything, and Tandali's going to take it.
Had to have it. Absolutely had to have it. Still at a 2 life deficit. Dalt working aggressively on the bottom left-hand side of the minimap in blue. And this is working out nicely. Glizzy Goblins really starting to get the defense into a nice position. The Buff Boys kind of hindered from making plays onto A, but the kills in transition are still okay. And the spawns are also still good, surprisingly, for the Buff Boys. I mean, they're still spawning top left side. Tantalize on 4. Trying to pick up White inside the zone. He's getting some good capture percentage considering that no one's contesting, but he will not be able to get it fully over to the first tick. And once again, the Glizzy Goblins get their setup in way.
But are they going to push a little too far here? Nick is there for 1. If he comes up with 2, all of a sudden numbers maybe just swarm onto that A point and overwhelm the Glizzy Goblins. But it doesn't fully come through. Joker just going to play from behind, wants to be annoying, and the setup right now looks great, but have to still execute on these gunfights, and so far so good.
First 2 kills are decent. Third one also in tow. Nixter just going to have to wait a little while longer here. Trophy system will help them still utilize this Rugs position. But, I mean, the Glizzy Goblins are in a very good defensive setup. Joker watching the mid-cross. Dalt close by. 2 members around the zone. Oh, what? That had to have been team shots. Joker just absolutely obliterated someone over the top of the head. Oh, the snapper here, goodness. Charms will secure the trade, but ultimately, still, it's all Glizzy Goblins on this defense.
And it's been that spawn, right? You're seeing it, like I was talking about, spawning across the map, not having that closed kitchen spawn. It's just going to really just take a lot of that time off the clock. And now Joker on the pinch again. Are you kidding me? Right through connector, gets some great damage out, and his teammates are finding every single kill. Not even a tick has been given up here so far. Looks scary off the start, but now coming down to the final push here in round 2.
Have to have some success off of Cole's break off, but Safe Halo just laying prone. Goes completely unseen, and the kills are so convincing. I mean, at one point in time, this was like a 24-22 in favor of the Buff Boys, and we just ended at 13 left for Glizzy Goblins to no lives remaining for the Buff Boys. A convincing A defense, and as you were kind of alluding towards, also, that extra tick was never actually secured, so another advantage for the side of the Glizzy Goblins defensively.
Very impressive to not give up a single tick for 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah, that's not common.
Yeah, not common at all, especially, you know, not with even having any members inside of restaurant when they had already captured B. So very nice resistance coming in to make sure this does not get out of hand. Just a 1-1 tally. Switch it up again. Nothing crazy for Glizzy Goblins over to B. They want to keep it standard and default over to this A site. They're going to have to get through White Throwed. Does a good job of putting together 2, but won't stop Joker, and now he'll stop the clock and get on early.
Yeah, you do have a couple of weird spawns here for the Glizzy Goblins, but this position for Dalton in the middle of the map is kind of a pivot point here where the Buff Boys have to respect his spot and either throw extra members to get him out or just rotate around him to kind of avoid him completely. And you can see the problems of trying to do either of those two things. Kill still coming through. First tick of progress nearly locked, but Nick around the back. Doubles down. 16th kill for him. 17 possibly right here on the corner, but the stuns are in. And the nades also will tag him down to allow the Glizzy Goblins to have numbers to hopefully be able to get a little bit more comfort here in the A zone.
As you can see it, much more concerned about making sure B is locked down. Everyone almost coming out of spawn when there's no kills to come through just to make sure it's safe, and it has been, but they might start to transition over to B. A has been defended quite well itself. They'll stop that tick, and now maybe looking to get on to the B point. They'll find White. That's a good job for the first one. Chance to stop the clock here again, maybe make something of the B point.
Yeah, the kills that are on but the backside of this will actually allow them to stack it as well. So quick progression now underway. And the Buff Boys are looking like they're going to call in the streak to try to retake this. Second tick of progress will be locked. Joker safe still on, but the cruise missile connects on the wall, and the explosion will take down 2. And with that, the full clear is in. Now only 22 seconds remaining, and oh boy, the Glizzy Goblins have to default and resort to this play at A, where they have no progress made.
Yeah, this is a forced play. You have to capitalize on the A point over here. We'll see if they're going to be able to do it. Joker over the top, good for 1. Second tick might be locked in. Joker gets a read on the second. One of the few players up, but will be able to stack it alongside Halo. And they do get that extra minute and those 3 ticks of progress, and now just need 1 more tick at B.
And the lives are even at 16 remaining apiece. Joker trying to stay hot through mid. Trade good. Safe will pick that up and also push forward just a touch. Caught, trying to get away, and yeah, he will keep his life. But the thing about the Glizzy Goblins here is you only need 1 tick of progress. You just cannot afford to not clear out Charms from this bedroom position. Gets the triple, locks it in, full team wipe with the 4th being tallied by Nixter, and Charms isn't done. He's on for 4 in a row.
Oh, he's warming up. He was 10 and 18. Now 4 in a row for him. The stun's going to lock him in place. The nade eventually does finish him off, but some great work done. We'll chip away at some of the lives available here for Glizzy Goblins, down to just 9, and now have to get through White as he starts to finesse and just play his life and take some laps.
The Glizzy Goblins have to be looking at this 3rd tick saying there's no way we don't get this, but playing a little too loosey-goosey. Under 30 seconds to go. Safe, almost transfers for a double. But the door is relatively open. The Buff Boys still spawning relatively close, though. Can contest, just not able to get into those forward positions that we had seen before. On the zone goes Dalt. Onus to the Buff Boys, trying to retake, but the kills are clean. And the Glizzy Goblins will jump on, secure that final tick, and with that, put themselves up 2-1. But more importantly, with that full capture, they also have guaranteed themselves round 5 defense if And it's a big if the Buff Boys can take this next offense.
Wow, I mean, that was insane. 17 seconds on the board, final hit, and they make it work out successfully. I think Charms must have saw a trophy or something like fly into that corner because he was dead certain that somebody was playing it. And Hyper focuses on it, flies out, and it costs him his life, and his teammates all drop simultaneously. Stings for sure, but able to capitalize, and that comes back from that couple ticks they got earlier on. Hasn't been clean by any means, but has been at least good enough. And now a chance to come right over to B again. They're ready for it this time. They come out clean.
Yeah, all 4 members, for the large part, focused over towards this B zone, and only 1 life will drop from the Glizzy Goblins. Buff Boys kind of waiting to receive this defense getting aggressive, but, oh, they're just not in a tradable position whatsoever. And you got Cola on one side, Charms on the other. 1v1s for both of them, actually turning up pretty solid for the side of the Buff Boys. Charms eventually turned away, but at least the play over towards A finds some success and a chance for Cola to stop the clock and make some work on the A zone.
Joker just hit a heat check and a half there with that shell over the top. But we'll see if he can carry it right over to this point as well. Looks like he is good for 1, but will be finished off with a trade. Tantalized, though, battling versus Cola. Little snakes over the top might be enough to try to secure this final tick. Tantalize gives it another chow. He is shut down. The rest of the defensive members simply going to give this up, concede it, and now 2 minutes to work with here for Buff Boys.
Lots of time, lots of lives. And some good positions here through shops. Lots of focus for the Buff Boys around the back. First player denied, White drops. Joker's having a monster game, 28 and 18. But can the rest of his team and he pick things up here to get them into a 2-1 count for this best of 5? Kills are good. Next hit attempt. Shut down. Joker looking for kill number 30. It comes to him, but still not weakened up, or rather healed up after that last fight. Cola takes an easy one. Now he's on 5 with a potential streak in his future.
Oh, take a look at the spawn. Joker kind of spawns right back up. It's not enough to block the back spa spawn here from Cola. I feel like he might have thought he did, but isn't able to get a full read on it. The rest of his teammates trying to get bedroom control, and, well, nothing is going right. Last one up will fall as well, and now down to 11 lives here. So you still got 50 seconds, lots of time to work with, but you have to be careful about the lives. They're throwing a lot of them away.
Yeah, absolutely they are. 20 v10. Need something clean and convincing right here, right now if you're the Buff Boys. Good start from White. Does he get the second in the corner out? Doesn't protect him behind the door. Nick trying to follow up, but like you mentioned, also wants to value his life. Semtex out, tries to flush him through. Tag is in, but Tantalize is out of there. He is so far gone. He's even going to bait him into the gunfight, but Nick still comes out the victor. And now a chance with members on. They can still stack this. Safe Halo in the back is turned away. 3 members strong is what this hit looks like. Second tick of progress is on the way. Got to find a way to get back in. Dalt maybe the one to provide it, but Kill still coming out. 13 v7. Third tick being worked on. Joker with an AR now. Has to get the reload off. It's a double stack. You've got to find a way into contest. Safe trying to get there for the contest, but no. Buff Boys stack. They get the zone, and we're going to a 5th round.
Wow, and I mean, that's why we talk about Hotel being offensively favored, because it doesn't matter if you have 2 minutes on the clock or 5 seconds. It just takes one good hit, one good clearance inside of the bedroom. You find some of those members that are going to be set up to flank you and watch over you, and all of a sudden, those ARs on the back, they have so much work to do, too many kills to count. They can't get it done. The stack is good, and we're seeing around 5.
Telling you, man. The search and destroy did not give us the scoreboard that the rounds did. We had 8 tight rounds of search. The hard point was determined by less than 60 points. And now a round 5 affair here. It will be the Buff Boys on attack. Eyes towards B. Defense largely in position. First shot's good for Tantalize. Can't follow up. And even though Safe Halo can kind of hold the line, a lot of this defense is going to rely on this pinch play that's coming around the back.
Gonna get a read on it here. Still set up through mid. Dalt battling out. Will find some good kills. And they are holding on so far. They've kept them off the B zone, and now they got bedroom control. So that should force their hand once again. Buff Boy's gonna transition right over to A, but are they gonna be aware of Dalt already set up? He is already here, getting some good stuns and nades off, ready for the approach.
Kills are good. Buff Boys are gonna get a full wipe. That's gonna get them on towards A. Will they stack for the quick capture? Looks like the answer is yes. All 4 are on. So we're going to get a minute 44 on the clock. 26 playing 24. Life advantage to the Glizzy Goblins, but, I mean, we just saw a 5-life lead, and it didn't really amount to anything. So it's all about, can this defense actually hold off the Buff Boys from making significant waves towards B?
White flying right through mid, man. This guy, he does not stop. He just keeps on going. And he's going to get a trophy down early. He is going to go for the touch here. Doesn't have the support, but maybe doesn't need it. But Halo will actually get the best of him. He'll find one. He's able to play his life, and he's still got that cruise here in his back pocket, too.
Joker's kind of making sure no one hits the flank. The rest of his team pushing forward in towards bedroom. Oh, Joker's going to get a read here. Follow up through mid, and Joker will drop. Okay, here's White once again. Lots of engagements for him, 22 and 37. He's all over the map. All of our players are putting together some unreal KDs. But it will be the Buff Boys with some vacancy on towards the zone. 2 players are here. Dalt, nades are out. Those will start to tag, but not enough to get any kills. First tick of progress will be locked in. Where's the defense? Where's Safe Halo? He's going to call on the cruise missile, actually, and it will land. That will clear the zone for now. And a chance for Glizzy Goblins to get their defense put together, but they still have not been able to securely deplete this second tick of progress.
Look at this flank in the back, too. That's slowly unwinding. You can see Charms off screen. He should be able to block that close spawn, and he does. You can see it. Player 2 now spawning very far away from the zone, so any kills that they get should be blocked, and they even have White on the zone.
Wow.
Huge 1v1 at the back of the desk, but his teammates can't really get there to reinforce. As long as you can stay alive in the back, though, this play can still very much stay alive, and Charms will be on 4 in a row.
Yeah, I think they kind of lost track of Charms. You kind of saw it there for a moment. Joker was running with his knife into spy area, and he will get punished for that play. 23 seconds. Buff Boys need to use Charms' position, but no, Joker comes back off the respawn, gets his own trade. So now the numbers are limited. Buff Boys, it was such a good offense until this point right here. You have to essentially win a 2v4 situation. 8 seconds on the clock. Dalt avoids the gunfight. Now on the zone. Can he find the kill? That's the real question. Prediction to the one in the back. Oh, and he snaps and turns around, and everyone will be cleared off. What a play from Dalt and Safe. Last chance to touch will not quite get there. And a thriller control goes the way of the Glizzy Goblins, now up 2-1.
Man, Dalt, he is looking like one of the best ARs in the lobby, dude. Those were some clean shots in the end. An absolute snapper on the point to get some additional team shots in there to finish them off. Clear it once again. That bedroom control reigns supreme and just works down low patiently, crouch walking all the way in. Finds the kills, and look at the kills. 330 bombs there throughout that hotel control. My goodness, Alan.
We were not short of any action in that map of control for a multitude of reasons. I don't think we've watched a game of control on hotel that has had this many 30 bombs. Usually it's like 1 or 2 players, maybe one on either side. That's like, they're really popping off. But, dude, all 8 players in the lobby were really providing. And it started with Joker on this first offensive attempt for the Glizzy Goblins. It looked like it was going to find a lot of success here at B. But as we got to the final moments of it, those shots from White were super impressive. And that was really kind of the linchpin for the defense to get back into place and eventually hold. And the flip side, there was kind of the same situation, right? Like, look, the Buff Boys had a chance to kind of do the exact same thing that the Glizzy Goblins did, but the defense held for like 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the A zone.
Yeah, it's not something you see every day, and I mean, you can see some of the kills you're even getting out of White and just, you know, enabling the play to try to get through, but they stopped every single tick. And then Glizzy Goblins coming into some of these rounds, man, just that clutch factor really coming out. Charms has a couple of really nice plays. This is where he goes on that 4 to 5 spree here throughout the back. So you were getting the slaying power on the other side, exactly what we asked for, but just not enough of it there in that final 30 seconds. Those final pushes we talk about really staying, but man, was it ever entertaining, as you said, the entire way through, man, on a knife's edge.
Yeah, it really was. Really, really fun game of control.
The snap.
Dude, that is unreal. So what, I think he had 34, 35 to finish. Like, it wasn't just that we had players over 30. Like, a number of them were starting to threaten towards 40. Like, if we had an extra 30, 40 seconds, very well, it may have been a situation where we had some 40 bombs and multiple of them on hotel control. And if you don't take it by our candor, that is not all that common that we see that. But in the end, the swing map, as we continue to mention, goes the way of the Glizzy Goblins, 1 map away from being the champions here in this grand finals. But the Mercado hardpoint that comes up next as our reprise to hardpoint is back into the swing of things. I don't know. I'm interested to see if White's going to find as much success for the Buff Boys as he just did on the control, because if he's playing like that, the map looks very different when you have a sub player who can take over like White was in that last Hotel control.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear, like, he is the objective guy. Like, he is flying, man. When I say he's schmoving, like, he's really moving around the map. He is not slowing down. I don't think he knows how to. And that could be great, especially on a Mercado, when you just need that kind of constant pressure. But he also knows at least when to slow it down in the hard point, soak up some time. We saw him be, I think one of the main members with the most time, I think, on that squad throughout that map one on Fortress. But the big problem so far, really has been, the response for them. We've seen the clutch plays. We've seen the 1v1s. And, when they could take their time methodically, it looks like they're really good, and that's why I think you maybe favor them for a Hotel. But a second Mercado hardpoint, I think they have to make sure they don't get caught up in the tempo on this map and caught up in some of these money hills where you can fall down to about 100 points. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in that position, but you have to kind of constantly be battling. You can't give them too much on this map.
Absolutely. Here's the other fun thing for those that are watching that may not be COD fans. This is the first title of Call of Duty where we have hard points that get to 7 total hills.
True.
This map has 7 hills. Fortress had 5. Sometimes there are maps that only have 4, but never have we seen a hardpoint map in the competitive rotation that has 7 hills. Now, to be fair, we do go back to two of the POIs twice, so we're really only seeing 5 unique locations. It's just one is a second floor versus a first floor, the other is an interior versus an exterior. So the rotations are still, I would say, the key win condition for this map. I mean, it's not one of those that's like you're going to get heavily punished every single time like you did on like a map like Fortress, but getting set up first does provide you the opportunity to be more successful, because breaking on this map can sometimes be very difficult to do because of the tight corridors you have to work your way through.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's just a lot of trying to figure out what the setup is like and then hoping you can fly it and almost just, mechanically find a crazy 2-piece, right? But it's very difficult to do. And that's why having that cushion and having that lead is just so beneficial on Mercado, because you have them that luxury to say, okay, we can give them 20 seconds here to make sure we guarantee the setup at next. And as you said, it's so difficult to break that when you start to have at least that little bit of additional freedom on this map, it becomes a little bit more comfortable to play. But have to see, if they're going to be able to keep up with it. The ARs, I thought, stepped up quite a bit throughout that last map. We're battling back a lot more. So again, the slaying I feel like is even out, but will it again going into a hard point? We saw it get away from them in the end, but they were neck and neck just about the entire way through up into the final hill.
And that really is the ultimate question is, again, where are we going to get our difference makers and things of that nature? But I believe we do have another just brief intermission, as what I'm being told here, or we're about ready to go to the gameplay. Okay, never mind. We are going over to a quick break. So hopefully the action won't be too far away. Don't go too far. We'll be back with Mercado Hardpoint right after this. there, friends. Welcome back. We are here and just about ready to go for the Mercado hardpoint. The Glizzy Goblins hold the advantage after surviving, and I say that very selectively, surviving through that hotel control in map number 3. So 2-1 the map count here in our best of 5 series. Onus towards the Buff Boys to find a way to step into this hardpoint, and I think just kind of comparing the trends from Fortress to Mercado, be a little bit more proactive, I think, is maybe the best way we can talk about it. Just not react all the time. Don't get behind the 8 ball. Get ahead of the play.
Get ahead of the play, have a good start. I mean, you know, the best recipe for that is just have a great P2, right? If you can keep P1 somewhat neutral and just make sure you always have presence at P2, lock down that close spawn in the back alley, you can really, you know, flood your resources in, set yourself up, maybe bring home, you know, that full, like, 40, 50 seconds, really give yourself a good start here. Because we know what happens if they get to an S&D, Alan. I know they have to get one of the respawns, but they were looking really, really precise in those S&Ds. So you get through this, the series gets very interesting, but have to stay proactive. Got to stay on top of the rotations, and if they can put that together, you might see that map 5.
That really is everything, because it's weird, because I also don't want to sit there and say, like, if we go to map 5, like, the Buff Boys hold a huge edge. Because 3 of the 4 rounds initially that the Buff Boys had were 1v2s or clutch situations from White. So, I mean, could he pull that off again on an embassy? I don't know. Different situations for sure when it comes to how the maps very well may play out. But getting into this one in particular, there has been a certain level of, at least in my mind, where the Glizzy Goblins are maybe just slaying a little bit more. Like, just a slight bit. Like, in the key moments, I think in particular, for both the hardpoint and the control, it felt like there were these kind of really tight moments that eventually resulted in a full team wipe for the favor of the Glizzy Goblins. So things like that are also kind of playing things kind of to the behest of what we're seeing here from the Buff Boys, at least until this point.
Yeah, that's exactly been the case. It's been just about neck and neck, but just slightly better. Joker also had a really good control. He doesn't have, like, the best map 1, because the ARs were pretty much finding all of the kills, it felt like, but he also comes alive and drops, you know, another 30-odd kills there with the sub. So now you know that everyone's firing, and, you know, it can't just be, you know, one duo per se, I guess, coming into a Mercado. But that said, subs do find a little bit more favor. They tend to. They get a little bit more up close. Vaznevs can be very dangerous. And we've seen the Vaznev players on the day, man. They've been nutty. They've been very, very mechanical for as far as some of those snaps. So we'll see if that comes in again. But looking at those guys, man, you shut down Joker, you shut down Dultz. I think those are the 2 players that if you start to outslay them, or at least don't let them, you know, find some of those sprees that we've been seeing, build up those streaks, that's how you maybe keep this one very close and maybe even, you know, build up a lead and hold on to it.
Yeah, it's a very strong point. And so who knows? A lot of things that we can keep our eyes on. We'll do our best to kind of provide that storyline once we see it starting to unfold, because we have all the factors, we have all the major players, we have the puzzles that could be pieced together. It just comes down to what are we actually going to see on this particular map mode combo. And just to kind of tease it a little bit further while waiting for the gameplay, the Embassy Search and Destroy, that's where I think we'll for sure start to see some sniper rifle gameplay if we do get to that map number 5. So that could also be something that is very uniquely different from when we saw Fortress. That's kind of the cool thing about these last 2 possible maps. Very different than the first 2 where we had Fortress for both the hardpoint and the Search and Destroy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd also just be like the cherry on top too, right? With the boomsticks out, like map number 5. So if we get there, we'll be looking for them, but have to get through this map. More specifically, need to see Buff Boys get through this map, have a good start. They will be on the unfavored start to kick it off here, but we'll see if they're going to be able to have a good transition, a good opening, jumping into this hardpoint.
Yeah, good stuns, good nades from the Glizzy Goblins result in very easy opening gunfights. Good response, though, here from the Buff Boys, not really allowing the Glizzy Goblins to immediately get onto the hill. We don't ever really expect that this hardpoint gets a lot of time tallied, and when it does, it's always an eye-opener. So for now, things are kind of playing out as normal. You do have an opportunity, though, for the Buff Boys trying to fight down towards the bottom side of the minimap. That's where our second hill will spawn up. And Nixter has gotten through and kept his life. Joker is aware of this, though, and is on the hunt. But still a bit of miss, trying to lock down where Nixter is. The only bit of good news is the Glizzy Goblins have numbers, not just around this, but they also have still a member in the hill.
Yeah, I think they know that he's up top. A nade was thrown down low from Joker, and now he's going to go try and fish him out there, but will be shut down. Nixter still very much alive and well, and will be able to get his teammates to be a part of this play, and they actually touch initial first. Yeah. Spawn's not going to be here for Glizzy Goblins, all thanks to Nixter up top. Dalt's been on a bit of a heater himself at 8-0, but isn't able to really make anything happen. Now we'll see if this hit through the back alley will be successful.
Small pinch from Timbo. trying to get around the back. He only gets one. Nick with the trade. Tries to follow up clean shots, but ultimately the number's too strong for the Glizzy Goblins. Cola just in the front side, waiting, trying to patiently take any players away from this reinforcement. But no, not working out, at least as of yet. Team Nade, though, does actually kind of keep this hard point a bit open. Buff Boys with a chance with still, what was 26 seconds on the clock to get in. And yeah, they are going to get a lot of the scrap time. That's a huge neutralization considering the favor that the Glizzy Goblins had.
Yep, going to give them just a little bit of a lead here, too. Good little movements being made across the map. Trying to get here early, but you're just trying to find, you know, a couple of kills, spawn them out if you can while the old hill's still active. Unfortunately, nothing will be successful, but because of the scrap time going their way, they will have a little bit of time to slowly set this up, surround the hill if they want to, and go in for the break.
Oh, Tantalize. What a read that is on a player kind of playing an off angle through the backside of the map. One more inside. Dark Tantalize takes care of that one as well. 4 in a row for Tantalize. Meanwhile, Dalt's still on his nonsense. He's 12 in 1. I mean, you want to talk about locking things down. Hold up, let the man cook a little bit.
Yeah, this guy's he's been playing like TDM, it feels like. He's been finding a lot of kills. He's not really worried about the objective. His teammates are handling that for him. He is simply just slaying anything that moves. But how about that little movement there from White? Does actually combine for 2. Again, able to at least get in here for some of this scrap time, which allows, you know, the remaining 3 members to flood out a little bit earlier and try to contest P3.
Yeah, the advantages that we're seeing from Glizzy Goblins to the kill feed really are not turning into a terribly large amount of time. I mean, White's already over a minute worth of hardpoint time at just 3 and 7. We rotate over to Barbershop, though. Dalt is back onto him doing Dalt things. 15 and 2 off of his double.
Ooh.
Nice moment for Cola, trying to open up some phase through mid-map. Spawns are out. Timbo trying to hit the pinch. He's number 6 in blue, and yeah, he kind of shuts down this break attempt for the Buff Boys. Do that little split spawn.
Dude, Alt is almost at 20 kills right now. It feels like this game should be like a way bigger lead than it is.
Yeah.
Buff Boys are still in this. The slaying, however, has just not really been there like we discussed coming in. It needs to be. And now everyone going to start to move to new because, you know, they've already gotten about 40 seconds off of Barber. One more late hit here from Charms to maybe fight for scrap, but doesn't want to commit to it. Will back up, and they're now losing the rotation to 10 as well.
Yeah, that was a very punishing last 60 seconds or so, and it could turn into a very punishing 90 seconds as the old time will expire. The game clock will take up the majority of that last 10 seconds, but as you mentioned, we're back over here to the patio part of this tin building, and it is going to be the Glizzy Goblins opening up to their name. Stuns, nades, all connecting, and uh-oh, not good news here for the Buff Boys. They are down and down bad. Need something quick to keep this game tight.
And what is Dalt going to get up to? It's all I'm looking at right now is this man's only died twice, and we're moving into, you know, another rotation, another hail that's been active, and it's all blue in the kill feed. It's mainly been all blue. Dalt finally going to be taken down on the spree, but his teammates are there to pick up the trades. 30 seconds has pretty much gone their way. Buff Boys, they need to get in here now. 25 seconds remaining. This would be huge.
There it is. Nice. Really solid break. It's very clean, and it's very quick. That's the biggest part about it. So that's exactly what the doctor ordered for the Buff Boys. Locking down the full time, and they've got 3 members on rotation. Tantalize does not realize that the Buff Boys are already inside of this Cantina building. First set of shots come out. Tantalize is very lucky to be alive. Good help from Timbo. 2 for 1 the exchange. One more player on the interior. He will also fall. That was White. So the scrap time was locked. The rotation was looking decent, but Glizzy Goblins in towards this Cantina hardpoint again and a chance for them to regrow their lead.
Have to find a quick break here. White has been great on some of these plays. He's going to go for the hop up here to the window. Struggling to get up. The stun's also not making it very easy to make the jump ups happen, but he's now in for 1. Can't put together a second, but Buff Boys still able to get their resources at least down low here, trying to get numbers into the hill, just not find the eliminations, unfortunately, on the point itself. So time still going the way of Glizzy Goblins, and they're starting to trek to 200 points here, Alan.
Yeah, this is tough. You don't want to give away that much amount of time if you're the Buff Boys, but they don't really have any other options, and the problem is the Glizzy Goblins are already set up around this parking lot hardpoint, which will be our final before we go back to market. But like you mentioned, with 10 seconds still remaining on the old time, Glizzy Goblins will be really close to 200 points. And Dalt on 24 and 7 is essentially a walking kill streak right now. Every time we drop to his perspective or see him in the kill feed, he's on for 3, 4, or 5 kills straight. And the Buff Boys not able to even set up an early break attempt here as the Glizzy Goblins will get over the 200-point threshold.
Have an opportunity to actually end it here if you can grab just about every single second. And kills are still coming in for Dalt. He's just reading them left, right, and center. Oh my god, he finds another one up close. That should have been a freebie. Dalt is doing it all, looking for 30 kills, and they could still very much end this here through the first set.
Yeah, it's looking like it very well may happen. The Buff Boys are just falling apart a little bit here. Everything's kind of coming in piecemeal, 1 by 1, 2 by 2. It's really not ever constructed as a full-on hit, but like you mentioned, they could still win here. Can the Glizzy Goblins, and that kill from Nick will make sure we at least rotate again over towards this market hardpoint, but man, what a series this has been so far for the Buff Boys. Just not quite able to get things going here in the Mercado thus far.
Oh, not looking very likely. Feels like it could all end here on P1. 10 more seconds. Still a bit of fight here from Buff Boys. Trying to keep the hill potentially neutral. And, well, they will have a good transition again. Finding some good kills. We'll open it up, but you have to play so tight at the hard point. And, well, we've seen this story before. Not easy to rotate and play for scrap time. Not going to be an easy task, but we'll see if they can do it. Body shots coming through. Glizzy Goblins, they want to get it done here, and they might just do it. Couple more seconds needed, and they will get the job done. Glizzy Goblins aren't messing around in the respawns, Alan. They are your champions.
Wow. I mean, look, we had 3 tremendously tight maps. Tremendously tight maps. But Dalt just said, he just called game. I mean, from his first life, he's like, nope, not here, not now. Heck of an effort from the Buff Boys, but 30 in 10, 26 non-traded. Are you kidding? Plus a minute of hardpoint time. Dalt was literally just, he was him.
He was him. Yeah, that's where I was going with that. He is him. Wow, 26 to 30 non-traded. On Mercado, too, mind you, right? Like, it's a map that is, you know, very tradable usually, unless you're in some of those kind of power positions, maybe watching over the mid lane where you're usually at far range, but he was picking them apart. 3,100 damage throughout 8 hills and not even seeing the finale of the 8th hill. That man was just putting it out, man. Holy.
Yep. Man. What a series, though. What an absolute thriller.
Truly.
I mean, flat out, first 3 maps could not have been any tighter than that. Could not have been any tighter than that. But that 4th map, it was just a different level of Glizzy Goblins coming out. Can't believe we just did a whole series calling a team the Glizzy Goblins, but here we are.
Here we are. Here we are. Glizzy Goblins do it. I think you're looking back there as the Buff Boys, and you're probably maybe gonna, you know, really kind of look back on that control, I think, right? Like, that's probably the map mode combination that we always talk about. The S&D, yes, it was very close, but it looked like they were at least kind of a little bit more in their rhythm, I would say, kind of in those S&Ds, watching them kind of play out some of those rounds, take their time, but not enough there. Those final rounds really gonna hurt you, not being able to get those couple extra ticks on Hotel, but that's the way she goes sometimes, and they're not able to get it done in the respawns, but certainly put up a fight the entire way through, Alan.
Absolutely. I mean, the search and destroy the control, there was some really nice moments in there. Even in the Fortress, sticking around as long as they did, considering the set of circumstances that were starting to be thrown their way, was truly pretty remarkable and pretty impressive. But ultimately, first place and the championship here with the DAFGL goes the way of the Glizzy Goblins. They earned themselves a patch, pin, and hat, but also that AFG custom jersey. The Buff Boys will still walk away with the DFLGL hat, patch, and pin. 3rd and 4th place, also for what it's worth, came across with a pin and a patch. Cool little souvenirs and cool little monikers of what you were able to kind of participate in throughout the entirety of this minor league. But Austin, I mean, end all be all, we kind of have maybe a giant, you know, not quite sleeping anymore in the form of Dalt. He was looking pretty spicy throughout the entirety of the series, and I don't know if we have anything or if it's even a thing, but I think we kind of have to, at least kind of between you and I, give an MVP, and I would say it's got to be Dalt, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's hard to pick that guy, right? 8-0 start. He was like 19-2, I think, at one point in time. So, yeah, I think he's a fair candidate to throw in there. But, yeah, man, that guy was definitely a problem. We saw it on the map 1 with some of his shots he was hitting in that final kill cam, and I think we knew that the AR presence was going to be existing here in Force throughout the entire series, and it certainly was. And then, yeah, he goes into that map forward. He says, I don't really want to see another S&D here. You know, I want to get it done. And, well, he got it done all right, that's for sure.
Just stay away from White and his clutch abilities. Let's not even give him a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
What a fun series. We're hoping you guys all out there enjoyed it. Before we go again, keep an eye out for the summer series. That's going to be happening from June 10th to August 20th across 9 different titles. It's 11 weekends. So if you're looking for something to do over your summer, you just got it handed to you on a silver platter. Visit over on the Air Force Gaming website at airforcegaming.com for more information, how and when to sign up, and what titles are going to be provided throughout the summer months. And hopefully we'll catch you for the summer season. But for the spring, we say farewell until next point. Make sure you keep pulling it down. Bye-bye.